Ah, it's going now. Oh, it's streaming. Showing. Carrying. Wow.
Harold to reception, please.
Right, there it is.
Yep, the hurricane made landfall south of Siesta Key as Category 3. We're now dealing with a Category 2.
Right.
If you look at the velocity data on radar, especially around Tampa, you'll notice that there is an increase in the wind speeds aloft over the past hour or so. This is that interaction with the jet stream. We're likely going to see even stronger winds move through Tampa if this thing finally moves out of here. And I think that the wind threat's going to be quite intense all the way through Florida as we have that steam jet kind of effect move through. That's what's eventually going to eject the storm out of here. That's going to add to the winds as it does so.
It's picking up desktop audio. Michael.
Yeah, still looks like a lot of the worst of the storm surge flooding is coming in. From the Sarasota area. I don't have any sort of specifics right now, but some of the reports are higher than what we saw in Venice and what we see right now from Bryce. basically what we've got going on in Sarasota is very similar to what we see here from Bryce Shelton, who is close. Also, if you've been watching for a while, you'll remember that we saw more of this door from Brad not too long ago. There's a full door like that, a grown person could walk through underneath all that water there. So the water is still rising. I don't know how much longer that's going to happen. But it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon here in the Sarasota, Inglewood, down towards Port Charlotte areas. The Siesta Key is also taking on significant storm surge. Go ahead, Elijah.
Hey Ryan, so if you look in the stream text chat, there is a map of a 24-hour rainfall. Recorded map so far.
All right.
Lakeland and Bartow there, 10% of customers without power. David's home is Lakeland. He's joining us actually from Miami, so they made the choice to leave, which I thought was a great idea. I see a question here. Mike, is your office close to the Grand Bohemian? That's south of here. That's closer to the theme parks. We're closer to the Kia Center. Let's see. Everyone talking about that Lieutenant Dan guy. I saw that. That's just nuts. That is so crazy. Someone says, does blue mean less outage? Yes. So in this sense, if you're looking at the power outages here, when you see the blue color, it's less than, I believe it's less than 10%. Then it goes to yellow when it's greater than 10%. Then it is orange when I think it's more than 25%. And then red when it's more than 75. I believe that's how it goes. Manatee County, or maybe more than 50%, apologies. Manatee County as well, 62% out there. Speaking of manatees, speaking of the Manatee River there, a 12-foot storm surge reported down there in southwest Florida. 12 feet, folks. Remember that a two-story house is roughly 20 to 25 feet tall. So a So 12 feet is effectively like standing and looking out the second story window and the water coming up to the bottom of the window. It looks like we're pulling zoom back up here. Jack, we got to let Capucci know. Can you hear me, Jack, in Unity? Cool. Okay, good. Colin McCarthy just sent me a pretty troubling message here. A flash flood emergency was just extended to Lakeland. So we're going to go here into the app, into the alerts here, and I am going to toggle on under the flooding and coastal. We're going to do flash flood warning. And yep, wouldn't you know it, the whole state is covered in those, huh? So let's go back here. And where is it? Right here. Flash flood warning. Yep, that's for the next 4 hours in Tampa Bay. This is for, flash flood emergency for Lakeland, Winter Haven, and Wesley Chapel. So for the next 5.5 hours, so until 4 o'clock in the morning, there is a flash flood emergency for Lakeland. It is a PDS, particularly dangerous situation. Holy cow, for a flash flood warning here. So effectively what this means, right, is that there is so much water. Move to higher ground now. This is an extremely dangerous and life-threatening situation. Do not attempt to travel unless you are fleeing an area subject to flooding or under an evacuation order. Stay away or be swept away. Jeez. Riverbanks and culverts can become unstable and unsafe. Jeez, Lobo. Again, the language, you got to understand, folks, when the National Weather Service chooses their language, they do so very, very carefully. They do not use words lightly. Folks, someone here on YouTube just asked for us to show our tower cameras. Jack, can we show the camera above the roof looking out west? I mean, there's not too much to see. There's a lot of rain, of course, on the camera. Jack, what about the east side? Is that billboard still hanging on? Look at that thing go. So that's Orlando, our office here. We'll check back in with that later. Good Lord, the flooding here. How about Jordan shot too there, Jack, in Sarasota? Jordan, is Jordan back in the Zoom? Are they all back in the Zoom, Jack? Jordan, David, and Will. Okay, cool. Jordan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you. Can he not
I
hear
do
me?
not hear Jordan. I'm going to have to call Capucci here soon so we can get him
That's crazy that Mike
on the
can't
stream.
hear me.
And
Can
we
you guys
will,
hear me?
We'll get him. Good
Yeah.
gosh, look at that shot here. I hear Will as well.
I can hear
Will.
I can hear you, Jordan. Mike, can you hear me?
No, I can't hear Jordan.
That's so crazy that he can't hear me.
Now I hear Jordan. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, there we
I'm
go.
I'm pretty sure that it's our network, obviously, here in Orlando getting slammed.
But yeah, so what I was pointing out is this tree, and what's really cool and something you can really see about how we've been talking about all day is how it's been raining so much that the ground is so saturated. This tree didn't snap. The roots literally gave way because the ground is so saturated, and that wind just battering it from every direction just tips it over. And that's going to be the big problem here along in Florida is just these trees tipping over because the ground can't handle the weight anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's and is that a power line next to it there, Jordan? I can't really tell. Like wrapped around the base of it?
Those are the roots.
Good. Woo, that is a big root there. Jordan, you're still in Sarasota?
No, I'm in Venice.
Okay. I know you keep moving back and forth there. So
I'm just hanging around Venice. I'll be in Venice for a while.
Fair enough. I mean, Jordan, were you able to see earlier Capucci shot from downtown Sarasota? I mean,
yeah, I'd seen he was getting that extreme wind over there.
Good gosh, man. It's wild. Meanwhile, again, a flash flood emergency extended for Lakeland, Florida. So again, if you live in Polk County, David, by the way, you can hear me. Aren't you glad you're not there, huh? Let alone not dealing with power and having a flash flood emergency.
I should unplug the headset so my wife hears that next time you say that.
So let me switch over to the Melbourne radar here. Wow.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Will.
Like, I got something cool you might want to pull up on radar.
Let's do it.
Okay, so if you go to the Tampa per station radar and pull up for velocity, I think you can really start to see that jet streak coming in over the city. We're getting some big gusts in Tampa.
Okay. Let's switch to velocity here.
Yeah, so see those dark blues? Like, watch them just fill in.
This road's
So,
blocked. No going down
so
this
for
road
those of
anymore.
you, for just so you know, red is representative of winds going away from the radar site. The radar site I'm using is right here, KTBW. And then the green is representative of winds going away, or toward the radar site, rather. When you start to see the green and then this brown down here, we are talking about super duper powerful winds. Big shout out to David, by the way, and his team for making these colors really stand out here. David, to see this inland here over Tampa and the Bradenton area here, I mean, what's going through your mind when you see something like this?
Well, we really have to think about what we were seeing with Capucci and Jordan's live streams. And I asked them, I said, guys, it certainly feels like this was worse than Helene, even though Helene was technically a stronger storm. And they both pointed out that since they're in much more highly populated areas, you're going to see much more debris, many more, pieces of things flying around. It's a lot more dangerous. The other thing is that as these wind gusts get into the city, they're going to be funneled through these big buildings, and that's going to create localized jets. So you're going to be getting gusts that are well in excess of perhaps of what you're going to see with these sting jets. So enhanced local jets between these buildings. I was actually getting some in situ reports from friends who were telling me in Tampa they could feel the buildings are swaying. So yeah, this is pretty wild for
Hey, David, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, as Capucci and I have both said, this one definitely feels a lot more intense, even though it was like one category lower than Helene. But do you think it has something to do with whereas Helene intensified very rapidly, but it was such a quick period of it intensifying and landfalling that it just didn't have a whole lot of time to mix those winds all the way to the surface, whereas Milton has been able to have those winds all the way down to the surface since it's been a category 5 for hours, allowing those winds to kind of stay down there even though it's dying.
That's a really interesting concept. No, I hadn't thought about that at all. I think part of it, what you guys are talking about, so you're onto something there. I think with this, with the winds mixing down, because so what Jordan's referring to is a wind. The highest winds of a hurricane are usually at 1.5 kilometers off the surface, and it's due to surface friction. Friction dissipates that. But what we're getting with this storm, I think partially as it's going through an extratropical transition, is that you're getting this drier air, and we've talked about sting jets a little bit, is that the precipitation coming down to this dry air is driving all of these heavy winds to the surface. So you're not seeing the fall off with winds that you would normally get with a typical storm. So Jordan, I don't know if it's necessarily that it was a category 5 for so long. It could be. This is actually, I'll talk to some of my boundary layer friends about this. I hadn't really thought about that. But that's a really interesting science thing. Yeah, it is certainly plausible. It passes the smell test, I would say.
Good. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm not crazy because that's kind of how I envisioned it. Was like, Milton had time to really mix those high winds down, regardless of the category, and Helene intensified, but it didn't really have a whole lot of time to really get everything going. I don't think.
Now, it might have something to do with the fact that Milton's eye wall was so tiny. So there have been a lot of studies, if you really want to dive into it, about like inertial stability, where the air comes in, overshoots the eye wall, and then wiggles its way as it comes all the way back up. So you actually get a secondary wind maximum at like 2, 3, 4 kilometers high. Doesn't happen very often. It's a little rare. But in this narrow case, maybe you didn't have that overshooting, so it was really maximizing the winds at the surface. It's very plausible. It's something that I hadn't thought about before. I don't feel like you should be a crackpot. I remember when I first started my shared hurricane research like a while ago, I got called a crackpot to my face, and I ended up being right. So that felt pretty good. But yeah, no,
awesome.
I know I have some friends who focus on boundary layer physics and dynamics of tropical cyclones, and I'll bring it. One of them is the former chair of meteorology at the University of Miami. So I'll shoot him an email tomorrow after things settle down, and I'll talk to him about this. So thanks for yeah. I always welcome crazy stuff and crazy theories, thinking about like pushing the science for these hurricanes. So thank you, Jordan.
Just to jump
Of
in
course,
here
thank
real
you.
quick, guys, as you guys were chatting there, both Jack, myself, I mean, literally everybody, I would imagine, in Orlando, there is now a flash flood warning in effect for Orange County. In fact, it's Lake County, Orange County, Osceola County, Seminole County, and South Central Volusia County until 2 o'clock in the morning. Effectively, what they're calling for here, folks, is that so far, 5 to 8 inches of rain have fallen. 3 to 6 inches additionally are likely to fall on top of that. So for those doing the math there, what they're saying is that upwards of potentially 14 inches of rain may fall here before all is said and done. That is, of course, a significant amount of rain. As you saw with Jordan's shot earlier, all it takes is for really a little bit of rain to just completely saturate the ground. For the record, it's been raining all week long in Florida. It's what we call a predecessor rain event, effectively the appetizer to the entree here that is Milton. It was raining so much that now you put more rain on top of that. It's like a sponge. You put the sponge underwater, you squeeze it, it fills up with water. Then you try to pour more water on top of the sponge. It can't hold it anymore. It reaches a point where it just spreads out. And unfortunately, that's what's happening right now, let alone in Orange County in Orlando, but across the entire state, central Florida, I should say. I mean, literally, if you look at the app here, the whole big shield of precipitation here is effectively perfectly aligned with all of the flash flood warnings all across the state of Florida. Water, folks, is not anything to mess with. I mean, it is literally the #1 killer when it comes to natural disasters. It's not, if you think like, oh, tornadoes, directly with the wind. It's the water. I'm sure Jordan and Capucci would both attest to that as well. Water is frightening. Winds you can hide from, as the expression is, hide from the winds, run from the water. I've seen, when I was working in television, I covered flash flooding damage up close. There's really nothing like it. Water is that and fire. When I covered wildfires, it's just staggering what fire and water can both do. And the best thing that you can do here with the water, particularly if you're in a low-lying area, you can't be there. You simply cannot be there. It's like being in a bowl and you being in the center of it, not a good place to be. Of course, unfortunately, the time to prepare has passed. Like you're in it now, right? So you need to have multiple ways of receiving alerts. All right. It looks like, Will, are you saying you're Will, you got to get going here?
Yes, I think I'll get going. Thanks for having me, though, Mike, and everyone.
Of course. For those of you, we'll bring Will up here. Y'all can follow Will on. Go ahead, Will. Plug all your social media platforms.
Yeah, at WillCon06 on TikTok, Instagram, and also X.
Awesome. So again, you'll see more of Will on Instagram and on TikTok and on our X platform as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Will. Stay safe. We'll catch you back here for the next one.
Likewise, guys, especially you in Orlando, Mike.
Hey, it's not just me. We got Jack and Mauricio here in the back here too.
Everyone there.
Yes.
Everyone there.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate it.
Yep. See you guys.
All right. Cool. So let's bring it back from the top. I see Erica as well. And Erica, I guess maybe we can talk about some of the future modeling here. David, I'm not talking about next week. I don't want to do that yet. I just don't want to put that evil out into the world. I'm supposed to be in Las Vegas with Erica for a convention. And of course, a big shout out to our friends at DGM Racing. And of course, Kyle Weatherman, NASCAR's official weatherman. I would like to be there covering that, David, even though, of course, if nature quite literally calls, I will be here, but we don't want to talk about that yet, David. Not doing that.
Hey, I didn't see nothing. I didn't hear nothing. I don't know nothing.
Oh gosh, I don't want to do that. Man, there's some rude people on YouTube. TikTok was crazy yesterday. But TikTok was pretty good. Oh, right. Hang on one second. Sandy, I'll get this person here. We're just going to go ahead and put that person in timeout. Boy, that was a borderline comment there, Sandy. We might have to block that person. Jesus. Anywho, let's start from the top here. My name is Mike Linden. I'm a meteorologist with MyRadar. Of course, I'm joining you from the MyRadar studio in the city beautiful, that being Orlando, Florida. Of course, I am using the MyRadar app to track Hurricane Milton, which as it stands right now is a Category 2 hurricane and weakening, 104 miles per hour now. It is moving at 16 miles per hour, so it is slowing down pretty considerably. But that's why you're seeing all of these flash flood warnings. Those are those red boxes that are in place over the state. It's just a big mess. In fact, right now across Florida, 1.7 million people are without power. The bulk of those folks are down here. Something we talk about in severe weather is when storms train, where they follow along the same. It's effectively storms finding the path of least resistance in the atmosphere and effectively find a route through, and then storms that follow it kind of go along the train. The reason why I say that is because storms effectively that train have a history, right? If a storm has a tornado warning that's issued, typically the National Weather Service will keep that tornado warning issued out front of it, or they'll pay close attention to storms moving through that area. Again, the reason I say that is because you look at all of these power outages. If I turn this off for just a moment, you can see that basically where the storm is going here, you're seeing the higher incidence of power outages continue to tick up. So this is effectively where the center of circulation is right now, sitting over top of Hardy County, which right now 97% of customers are without power. We are effectively looking at a total blackout in Hardy County. For the record, Bradenton is home to Sarasota County. 67% of customers there without power. And then in Sarasota County, 67% of customers without. I meant Manatee County. Apologies, 73%. So if you do live in Polk County, that number has ticked up from 10% to now 16.5%. Osceola County, which by the way is where Kissimmee is. We're on the way to Disney World here. Osceola County only at 2.8%, Orlando at 3.8%. So rising, okay? Again, we are here in Orlando. We are going to keep streaming for as long as we can. Anywho, that is the word on the power outages there. Those continue to tick up. If you are listening to me right now and you live in Central Florida and you have like a power bank, a little magnetic one here, hashtag not a sponsor. This brand is great though. Unfortunately, Jeff Bezos not going to be able to get you these right now. So you got to have them. Definitely get them for next time if you don't. Again, hashtag not a sponsor. Get these charged up and plugged in right now, because if you do lose power, I mean, this is literally going to be your only source to be able to charge your mobile devices. And if you needed to call emergency services, this is how you're going to do that, at least by charging up your phone battery. Let's go back to the storm here. Of course, the storm is expected to continue to trek its way eastward. Orlando no longer in the cone here, but remember, if you look at just this huge shield of precipitation, the cone is just representative of where the center is the storm is, right? Very interestingly, the storm is expected to remain at Category 1 hurricane intensity the whole way eastward as it works its way off the coastline there, just off the coast of Kennedy Space Center. I know they've already brought all of the boosters and the rockets inside there at the VAB, the Vehicle Assembly Building, for those that are unaware. Anywho, the storm is now passing south of Lakeland and looks to be passing south of Disney World, Orlando proper, and it's heading right for Cocoa Beach, Cape Canaveral, Vieira, Satellite Beach. If you've ever come to Florida and you've taken a cruise, it's likely been out of one of two places. Port Miami, the busiest port in the world, or Port Canaveral here in Cape Canaveral, the second busiest in the United States. I believe it's in the world too. I have to check that. That being said, it's the second busiest in Florida for sure, being that it's behind Miami. That being said, a very, very busy evening. I am joined by the MyRadar weather team. We've got meteorologist Erica Lopez standing by. We also have tropical weather expert and director of meteorological research, Dr. David Ruglicki. He just told me that he's repositioning. David is actually in Miami with some folks from the National Hurricane Center. So we have an inside horse. And meanwhile, David used to work at the National Hurricane Center. He is a meteorological phenomena named after him. And we're also joined by digital content creator And Mr. Viral, I mean, gosh, everything he tweets turns to gold, is this gentleman right over here, Colin McCarthy here. I mean, Colin, how many tweets have your posts on X have you had that have gone over like 20-something million? It's a lot.
I have, I think 60 million views in the last 3 days.
Yeah,
So, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. All right, so let's go around the horn.
And he's only
here.
a student.
Yeah.
So,
lifting the curtain. You're talking about a guy that's been stitched on TikTok by Billie Eilish and like Kim Kardashian. So pretty awesome. So shout out to Colin. Erica, let's talk about these model runs. The storm doesn't really have a center anymore. We'll bring David back here momentarily. It's undergoing effectively extratropical transition, which typically only happens when when a hurricane or tropical cyclone goes north to Canada. And effectively what's happening here is that the whole southern side is just effectively disappearing. And this is becoming an issue where you're just seeing the worst of the worst on the northern side. Meanwhile, Erica, look at the outer bands on the east side there. It's a good thing those are happening over water, but my guess is, particularly like right here, off the east coast of like Vero Beach and Fort Pierce.
It's been a long night. Yeah.
I would imagine you're seeing big time water spouts out there right now with all of those storms spinning up out there.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking about that earlier when I was looking at the radar. I was like, wow, there must be some big time water spouts, because I mean, that line of storms is pretty much what triggered, the tornado outbreak earlier. And thankfully, I was checking on this earlier. We haven't had a tornado warning in like about 4 or 5 hours over Florida. So
yeah, Erica, look at this, right? Let me turn off the hurricane tracker. Like right here, there's one, right?
Yeah.
Here's one there too. Right there, man, that is wild. I mean, folks, we had a full-fledged tornado outbreak earlier today, and it was so fast. Like within a couple of hours, it started and was over.
I think it was 130 tornado warnings or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like over 150 like confirmed or tornado warnings in the state of Florida. Yeah, I saw something that said 150.
Fort Pierce is actually where that there's been multiple fatalities reported on a tornado that hit Fort Pierce earlier today, and then also I believe it's Vero Beach, which is to the north as well.
That's really unfortunate news there, Colin. Yeah, obviously the goal is to survive, right? That's unfortunate. Someone's asking about, is Capucci still out there? Yeah, Jack Capucci, we lost his. Yeah, Capucci is in a. Let's take it then. Jack just said the winds outside our office are crazy. It's hard to see, Jack, because it's Yeah, what I could, I was gonna say, Jack, I could like step away and then join the call from my phone and go outside. If you guys want me to do that, I'll do that. Sheesh.
I think it'd be cool to hear what it. I think that's what I wanted to see with Capucci and Jordan's video. We couldn't really hear the storm, but it would be interesting to hear it from Orlando.
All right, let me know in the chat if you guys want me to go outside, and then I'll leave it to Erica, David, and Colin here to drive here for a moment. I'll go walk outside. I guess I'll have to bring my AirPods and put a
and I could break down the forecast for Orlando while you're out there, because I know a lot of people have been asking.
Let's do it.
I'll
go outside. I'll go outside. All right. So Jack, take me off camera. I'm going to go outside for the people. All right. All right. You're up, Erica.
Yeah. So Jack, I don't know if we could put maybe, because I don't want to block that camera view, especially if it looks good. W side maybe on top, or we'll see where we can put it. But I just kind of want to go over the forecast here over the next several hours. I don't think we've shown future radar in quite a bit of time, and I just kind of want to get an update. Like we were saying earlier, Milton already well inland, but this is taking a look at the next hour or so. You can kind of see where the heavy rainfall is setting up. I did see camera earlier in Daytona Beach where the winds are starting to pick up, and even the rainfall. So that's going to be pretty much the story here. You could see over we do this for every hourly step. Heavy rainfall still over Orlando, Daytona Beach. That continues into 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock hour. Still rainfall for the 5 8 o'clock hour. And on top of the rain, you're also going to get the wind. And that's what we're seeing right now from a live camera from the My Radar office, facing east. And so you can kind of see the bridge on I-4 there out in the distance. A couple of raindrops on our camera as well. And that billboard, I asked Mike this earlier, that was something that they pre-took it off. So it wasn't actually ripped off the billboard. That was something that they had taken off, whoever was advertising on that. And that's right outside our office. So I think Mike is going to go outside so we can hear what is going on there, just outside in Orlando. But yeah, a lot of you guys asking about Orlando here. And yeah, and if you're in the chat, let us know where you're watching from. I'm seeing a lot of comments, but I'm curious where you're watching us from. Maybe you're from Florida. A lot of you on Twitch. Jack is also in Orlando. A lot of people asking about Jack. I think he's all right back there. Let me know if it's anything different, Jack. I know he can hear me, but Mike is going out there to survey the storm. And so let's see what else we can show you. So let's get an update on the rainfall totals here over the next several hours. So what you see on top of me is, so this is the rain that is still going to come. So this is on top of what's already fallen across Tampa and even Central Florida. So maybe an additional 8 to 10 inches of rainfall is possible. Of course, this is, a rainfall threat that's very prolific. This is also one of those threats that we're going to be watching very closely. And again, this threat is not over yet. Do not let your guard down if you're Orlando, even in Daytona Beach along I-95 on the east coast of Florida. Something to take seriously. A lot of questions earlier about Jacksonville as well. You can see Jacksonville, I think you received the bulk of the rain. Still going to come down here, 3 to 5 inches of additional rainfall is possible, and even tropical storm force winds. So although the center of Milton is still over Central Florida as it comes up and rides the coast, I think that's when the storm surge threat, especially for Jacksonville on the East Coast, will start to go up here over the next several hours. So by tomorrow morning, I think that's when you're going to see some of the highest threats across the East Coast of Florida. And that's why the National Hurricane Center has also highlighted that region for storm surge potential. Now, nothing like what they're seeing and what we've seen in the video, but 3 to 5 feet of storm surge is possible along the coastal areas. I did see that along the St. Johns River, there were also mandatory evacuations. So obviously, if you're in those mandatory evacuation zones, you should not be there because the storm surge is still going to be something that you need to take into consideration, especially across Jacksonville and on the east coast of Florida. Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear the storm.
Yeah, it's going to be, I guess, hard. The AirPods are probably isolating the audio. I mean, these winds are whipping out here. I'm literally trying to protect my phone with an umbrella. I mean, it looks like that billboard, the part of it on the bottom, could rip away at any second. I don't know if I can zoom in here, but I'm just outside on the fire escape. And whoa, whoa. We're good. I have an umbrella here above my head that almost completely flew away. But our parking lot is still good, which is nice. Again, we are under a flash flood emergency here in Orange County. I can't really zoom in, not really seeing anybody on I-4, which is also good. I don't really even hear anybody out on the roads. So that is also a good sign. But I mean, can you guys see that just the sheets of rain coming across the parking lot?
I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see the wind too. It looks, it's a lot of rain.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty significant. We've got rain kind of flooding underneath the building right here for our neighbors downstairs. But otherwise, things are looking pretty messy, and it sounds pretty violent out here. Of course, I guess the AirPods are probably isolating that audio. But there you go, guys. Look at Orlando here with Hurricane Milton coming to town as a Category 1 hurricane. And remember, the center of the storm is well to our south. But it's a big mess. All right, I'm going to come back inside here. But if anything else you guys want to see before my umbrella flies away?
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I think you're showing us the great. Oh wow, I can see the
Look at
umbrella
the umbrella;
now.
it's completely inverted. All right, we're going inside. I'll be right back.
That's a good cue to go inside.
Yep.
Yeah, so let's see what was just looking at the chat here. A lot of you guys are watching us from Texas, so hello. So asking for updates on, let's see, Port St. Lucie and Port Charlotte. Yeah, so for the most part, if you're in South Florida, that's Port St. Lucie. I think and you know, Dr. Glickly is there too. I always say Dr. David because I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, and I tried there, but I don't know what you're seeing down there in South Florida, but at least with the future radar here, you know, I think the main threat was that tornado threat that we saw earlier.
Yeah, we had a tornado. It's pleasantly breezy out right now. But yeah, no, the tornado threat was the serious threat. We had a tornado. I believe there were two or three. My NHC buddies went storm chasing earlier today, but we had a tornado near the Miccosukee reservation about I want to say about 6 or 7 hours ago, and that was 3 miles from here. So yeah, after that passed, basically that's all we really had to deal with here, Erica.
Yeah, and that's some good news for South Florida. I know a lot of people concerned about what's going on there. And so I don't know if we could pull up the app, Jack, just to kind of get a location where the center of the storm is and what's going on right now. And I love using the MyRadar app, of course. It's a free download and it'll show you where the center of the storm is, where Milton is currently located. And you can see there, really the center of the storm. And I guess we don't have the track up, but it's located just on the south side of Tampa. It made landfall, you know, Hurricane Milton made landfall at about 8:30 Eastern time. So that was about 3 hours ago. And we saw some pretty crazy winds and rain from storm chaser Jordan Hall, even Matthew Capucci. So if you want to go back and check out that footage, it's all on our social media platforms. We were seeing all sorts of, you know, cars stranded in the water, debris, you know, roofs flying off houses. And so, you know, considerable damage just south of the Tampa Bay area and even across the Tampa Bay, where they saw some significant winds. And now we're seeing the storm now track over Central Florida. And that's where we're expecting to see even more of the damage of rain, wind, power outages. Power outages, you know, numbers keep going up as well. And we'll get a quick update on that here in just a bit. But I can hear you, Mike.
Office to look at like the front of the street here. It might be kind of hard to see, being that the window obviously is right here. But again, a big parking lot out in front of us here, where luckily it seems like nobody left their vehicles, which is nice. Shout out to the city of Orlando. This parking garage here, they let people park in there for free through Thursday. So big shout out to the city for allowing people to store their vehicles safely. Can you guys see the rain just like whipping across the side? It looks a lot like Ian in 2022. And then on the street there, just figure I'd give you guys a look here. Otherwise, I'm going to come back to the stream here momentarily, guys. See you in a moment.
Yeah, that's you know, I was in the office during Ian, and that's probably one of the scariest experiences I had. Thankfully, nothing too crazy happened near the office, but I know a lot of you guys are worried about what's going to happen here over the next several hours. So just prepare for the wind and rain, and then by I think tomorrow afternoon in Orlando, conditions will improve. I see a lot of people asking that. And there's nothing happening in Jacksonville, but again, the center of the storm is still located just right on the south west side of Tampa. And so, you know, the strongest winds will hit later on in the overnight into tomorrow morning, especially for Jacksonville. So right now you're not seeing very much activity. It'll definitely peak in intensity as we head into tomorrow morning. So there's something to keep in mind. Do not let your guard down. If you were asked to evacuate along the St. Johns River, take that very seriously here. Someone asking about an update on the category on Milton. So it's still Category 2 hurricane. From the last advisory from the National Hurricane Center at 11 o'clock, it was at 105 miles per hour max sustained winds. Central pressure 960 millibars, and still, bringing some of that devastating rain and winds, especially across Central Florida. So that's a quick update. Category 2 hurricane still over Central Florida. 1.7 million customers, or 1 million customers without power in the state of Florida alone. Now that number is 1.9 million. And so those power outage numbers keep going up. I think some of the hardest hit counties are Sarasota County with over 200,000 customers without power, Manatee County with over 200,000, Hardee County, very small county, but almost 10,000 customers there without power, Pinellas with nearly 400,000 customers without power. And even in Osceola County, you're seeing about 11,000 customers without power. And in Orange County, where Orlando is, the power outage numbers are going up with 26,000 customers without power. So that's just a quick update on power outages. Now back up to 1.9 million customers without power. And that's just households. So, a lot of people are without power tonight in Florida. If you're watching us from there, I hope you have devices or something that is charged, so you may get alerts, especially in the overnight hours if you happen to be under, flood warning that you're seeing now in Orlando, or anything imminent that you may need to know. And I'm just reading the comments here. Yeah. So, a lot of communities in South Florida, unfortunately, got affected by the tornadoes earlier. And so they are seeing even damage down there in South Florida.
Erica, it's kind of looking like the strongest rain bands are going to be heading into Orlando over the next several hours. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a flash flood emergency issued for Orlando, because we're really starting to see those heaviest convective bands kind of train over the city, being on that north side of the hurricane.
Yeah, and that's a good point to bring out, because I think a lot of people are saying, and I was getting so many messages on social media that, is it the threat over yet for Orlando? And I was like, the threat hasn't even started in Orlando. This is
just beginning.
It's always forecast to be an overnight threat. And so that's something that, if you're watching us now, you live in Orlando and even Daytona Beach, these are the peak hours. This is when the worst of the storm will arrive over your area. So take this very seriously. Do not let your guard down. And you can see there on the radar, some of the heaviest rain bands, like Colin was saying, are going to set up over Orlando and really make way for that, potentially catastrophic flooding. And that's why there's a high risk of excessive flooding issued over Orlando. And that's going to last through tomorrow.
All right.
Yeah,
Erica,
we actually just got reports that...
Oh, sorry, Colin, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys just saw this, but the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium, where a ton of emergency responders are located at, much of the roof has just been blown off. So I just saw some images of that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So like a huge amount of the roof has been blown off.
So Colin, if you're able to find that on social media, we should definitely show that on stream here.
I want to jump in and talk about that for a second. So I just got another note from my neighbor in Lakeland, and he said it all of a sudden has gotten quiet, like the wind stopped howling. And I'm like, I think you're in the eye. And if you go to the storm relative winds, the winds on the western side are still up around 100 miles per hour, which would grok with what we were just told with the roof being ripped off. So yeah, it certainly seems like the western side of the storm is where the strongest winds are, everybody.
All right. If you guys can hear me, I actually just spoke with Capucci. We have his camera. I'm going to give him a call, so I'm not going to be able to hear Colin, David, or you. I'm not going to be able to hear any of you guys. So bear with me here. I'm going to give him a ring here, and I don't think we're able to stay on the IFB as well. All right, I'm going to call Capucci, and we'll get him onto the stream so he can chat with the people. So stand by, everybody. All right, Capucci, I've got my phone. I'm hiding so people don't see your phone number. Can you guys hear him? Go ahead, Capucci.
Awesome. Well, hey there, everyone. Sorry I've been incommunicado a little bit. I got to say, this is arguably one of the most intense storms I've ever seen in my life, and we know I've chased a lot of storms. It's all thanks to the Sting Jet. I mean, the fact that there's no precipitation falling, it's just pure wind, is something that doesn't really happen with hurricanes. It's all commensurate with a sting jet. And basically, you just have dry air encroaching into Milton circulation from the backside, but the moisture in the air evaporates. It's like you're literally evaporating the tail of the cloud. That causes the air to become drier. Drier air is heavier than moist air and denser, so it crashes towards the ground, and it pulls fierce, destructive winds from the upper atmosphere with it. And that's why we're getting these unbelievable gusts, widespread gusts of 100 to 115 miles per hour across the entire area. I've seen a number of gusts topping 110. The surge is still very high. You'll be able to see in just a sec. I'm rounding the curve right now. I have to be very, very careful because these palm trees have been crashing down. Metal bench narrowly many. And look, still very high. I mean, that surge is pretty deep. You obviously don't want to go in there, but look, that is downtown Sarasota, and the whole thing is underwater.
Capucci, earlier, I think we have that clip up on our X feed. I can look for it. I mean, you saw a couch fly past you midair.
Oh, yeah, it was like a crazy bench. I wouldn't be driving in there if I were him. It's definitely deeper down there. But, yeah, I mean, you can imagine my surprise when literally a metal, like, I'm pretty sure it was one of those, like, hotel cement benches, just came crashing out of the sky. And there are more power flashes. I have no idea where it came from. Couldn't tell you. It scared the heck out of me. And, you know, granted, I was positioned in a way that even vertically I was sheltered, but normally you're used to debris coming from side to side, not just crashing out of the sky. There, just in front of me, there's a part of a traffic light. I don't know if y'all can even see that. I'll tilt the camera down a little bit.
It's a little hard to see. I don't know if you can open. I don't think your camera has an ISO you can crank up, but if you can, we might be able to see it.
And that's the issue. It looks great in the live view monitor, but yeah, it's part of a traffic light that just came crashing down. I saw that crash down next to me as well, but I gotta say, this has been one of the most intense storms of my life, and a very impressive one. At this point, I'll give you a brief little tour. Down this way, we saw part of the roof of a building rip off. You'll be able to see some sheet metal on the ground just to my left, which you won't be able to see it super well, but sheet metal on the ground.
Yeah.
Parts of walls and fences. So there, I mean, those are big chunks of not only sheet metal, but, you know, parts of walls, parts of the building. That's plywood and 2x4s. What floors me is that all the power's up, but a lot of the street lights are still functioning, which is rather interesting. And it's amazing that this is coming on the backside. It's not even raining. Like, my windshield wipers don't need to be going because there's no rain. It's just all unbelievable wind, courtesy of that sting jet. Oh, look, we have trees in the street right here. And obviously no one's around, so it's okay if I kind of, get creative with traffic laws a little bit. Let's see what's down this way. And just,
Capucci, Jordan was saying before and had a conversation with David related to, obviously, you guys were chasing Helene 2 weeks ago. That made landfall in the Big Bend as a Category 4. So you compare that to Milton a Category 3. I mean, if we're getting caught up in the categorical intensity there, Helene stronger. But Jordan felt as though this storm, at least from the human impact, like him being on the ground, felt considerably stronger and more powerful. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. Notwithstanding it's affecting more people, but just the fact that, the winds are so much stronger. The maximum wind gust recorded by an official measuring station was 99 miles per hour in Perry, Florida, associated with fundamental misunderstanding or fundamental, area of understanding how flight level winds, when the hurricane hunters fly into a storm, they find those winds, how do those mix down to the surface? Sometimes they don't. I mean, at the same time, they're having sustained 130 mile per hour winds at the surface. A lot from, we could barely get a gust to 95. There wasn't adding up. Something wasn't allowing those winds to mix down. Whereas with this, it's not even raining right now, and we're getting unbelievable winds associated with a sting jet. What dynamics are at play? Is it a temperature thing? Is it a moisture thing? In this case, dry air is playing a role, but there's a lot that we have yet to understand when it comes to tropical meteorology, and I think this exemplified that.
Capucci, just one moment here. Jack, if you can take the web browser, here's the video that Colin was talking about. So big shout out to Jason Adams from WFTS here. Wow. Look at Tropicana Field here, of course, home to the Tampa Bay Rays. That is the roof of the Trop that has just been torn apart. Wow. Holy, I guess I shouldn't go full screen with this. We want to make sure that he gets the credit here. Let me zoom in. Hang on, Pooch. I got to put you down for just 1 second so I can zoom in here because I want to make sure that he gets the credit here. Can you guys see this on the stream? Holy cow, look at that. Yeah, he said we all had a collected gasp when we saw this from our reporter. Yeah, no kidding. Of course, for those of you that may not know, of course, this is the home of the Major League Baseball team, the Tampa Bay Rays. You know, not trying to make any jokes. Some people say that this is the worst stadium in Major League Baseball. That, of course, doesn't mean that it should be damaged. But I would imagine that the Rays, they had to have known this was a possibility here. But that is the roof of the dome that has been shredded to pieces there. That is wild. Holy cow. I mean, they're not in the postseason, right? So the good news is that, I mean, their season, good and bad news, their season's over, so they should have time to be able to fix this. But wow, that is a crazy video there. Jack, you want to take the web browser back up, or take the app and then Capucci stream. Go ahead, Capucci.
Yeah, right now I'm just driving around, and
Wow.
it's tough to figure out what is surge, what is freshwater flooding. I mean, I was routing this corner to go back to my hotel, and you can see the entire street is flooded. And actually, if I back up a little bit, y'all know those blue blinking police lights? It looks like there are several on the ground, but still blinking. That's the only light that I see anywhere. So that obviously is not going to work. It looks like, actually, I'm getting a brief overcall. So, Mike, I guess I'll be on hold for a sec, but I'll return in just a moment.
Go do your thing. Just let me know in Slack when you're ready, okay?
Awesome. I'll be on in just a sec.
All right, sounds good. All right, so there's Capucci here. Can you guys hear me again in Unity, Erica and David and Colin?
I can hear you.
All right, sweet. I've got the phone positioned away. I don't think it's going to come through on the mic. How about that video from Tropicana Field? Holy cow. That's
Yeah, that was
nuts.
crazy. I was like,
I wonder
nuts.
what did that. It wouldn't just I mean, something had to have hit it, right? Debris, and then that had to have been a domino effect at that point, because I don't think that it would just tear up because of the wind, right? Man, that is a crazy video. Colin, I don't know if you found that or whoever found that, but if we're able to repost that on Instagram or TikTok there, that would certainly be something to get out there. Jeez Louise. I've never been to that stadium. David, have you been to that stadium? I mean, you're closer there than I am.
Nope, never been there.
No, I mean, I know that, you know, again, it's kind of laughed at as like the cruddiest stadium in Major League Baseball. This is a team that won the World Series not too long ago, mind you, and is probably one of the best teams in Major League Baseball at talent development. Oh, and then Jason is asking me to verify something here. Colin, you see that message there from Jason? I'm trying to see here. Hang on 1 second. I'm seeing this Instagram post here. Oh, no. All right. So, Jack, if you want to take the web browser again. Yeah, so this post was from 21 hours ago. First responders were using Tropicana Field as like a base of operations. Oh, no. I mean, that is... Okay, so I'm going to say something. I'm not necessarily comparing it to that. I'm just saying that there's some similarities, right? So, Colin, we did a TikTok not long ago where we spoke about if there were to be a major hurricane in the Tampa area, it could have a Katrina-like effect, being that the flooding would just be horrible. Now, this storm went south. Luckily, of course, it was sheared. There was dry air. A lot worked against it. But, I mean, this just gives me, this is reminiscent to me of Katrina, where, of course, they were using the Superdome as a means of staging. Holy cow. That is very, I hope that people there are all right. That is not good. Of course, the first responders, very, very, very busy night, a very busy couple of days ahead for for the first responders there in the Tampa area. And now, of course, literally, we just looked at a video not too long ago. I'll jump back over to our X account right here. Look at this video. Again, this is from Jason Adams at WFTS here. That is the roof of the building that I just showed you there. So here, I'll jog it back here. I'm going to pause it. I'm just going to have to shrink this web browser, and I'll take this one and pull this up. So that is what it looks like. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right there. Oh, now we're looking at David. All right, let me shrink this down. Give me 1 second, folks. In real time. All right, so that's Tropicana Field, right? Home to the Tampa Rays. This is what it looks like down on the field right now. Of course, they're not playing baseball. They are using Tropicana Field as a means of staging for first responders. So that is super troubling. Obviously, we're going to have to do some digging there to get an update on it. But Jack, you can switch back to the radar here. Wow, that as we said, folks, we're just kind of getting started. The winds outside here in Orlando are wild. I know Capucci is driving. I'm waiting for him to call me back. Or shoot, maybe he's tried to call me back. No. All right. He said he was going to call me back, so he'll call me back when he's ready to. All right. Erica and David and Colin, I'll just bring it back to the top here. I guess what I'll do is I'll just plug these headphones back in and then wait for Capucci to call me back here. But it is almost midnight here. And that means that it is about to be October 10th. But right now, it is October 9th, 2024 at 11:43 Eastern Time. My name is Mike Linden. I'm meteorologist with My Radar. I'm coming to you live from the My Radar studio here in Orlando, Florida. I am joined by the Meteorological Avengers, digital content creator Colin McCarthy, meteorologist Erica Lopez, as well as the Director of Meteorological Research and Tropical Weather Expert, Dr. David Riglicki. Of course, we are talking about Category 2 Hurricane Milton, which made landfall earlier today, by the way, at around 8:30 on Siesta Key near Sarasota. A couple of big things have occurred thus far with Milton. Number one, the extreme wind warning was issued for Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. That's the first time it's ever been issued for that area of Florida. And of course, remains to be seen, David. I don't know if they'll officially say that this was a landfall in Tampa, right? So is that record still going to stand, 1921? Is that still going to be the most recent major landfall? Or is this going to count?
We're like splitting hairs here.
Right.
I'll talk to, we'll be in Miami probably a day or two longer. So my TSB, the Technology and Science branch, he went to bed, and his wife, who actually works in the Hurricane Specialist Unit, you might see her name pop up in a little bit. She's working the midnight, so I think tomorrow, when we all get together for lunchtime, I think I'll talk to them and ask them a little bit about it. But, it's a couple miles here and there. I think it's semantics at this point. This is probably going to count as your resetting the clock on the Tampa landfall, the major Tampa landfall, Mike.
Yeah, so for just to make it clear to everybody, the last time that the city of Tampa had seen a major landfall, of course, that's Category 3 and above, that was 1921. If indeed that record is going to fall, this would be again a fairly significant weather event. Hurricane Milton, if I zoom out here, and then Colin, whenever you're ready to share your screen, just let me know. Hurricane Milton right here, when it was just to the northwest of Progreso. I'm sure you saw the clip of NBC meteorologist from Miami, John Morales, who has been a longtime meteorologist in South Florida. He was tearing up talking about Milton at this point. This was when the storm was a Category 5 with 180 mile per hour winds. David, what was the central pressure again? I can't recall offhand what the central pressure was at that point, but it ranks now among the top 5 for for strongest storms in the Atlantic Basin. I can't recall what the number was now offhand. It's been a long couple of days here.
I believe we dipped into the eight.
I think it was 897.
Yeah, something like
897,
90. Yeah.
Yeah, and Katrina was my head says 905. I don't know if
I think
I'm
it was
wrong there.
905.
I thought so. Yeah.
Sounds
So
right.
again, they do things different out there in the Pacific, as I'm sure David can talk about. The typhoons out in the Pacific are nuts. But when it comes to the Atlantic Basin, we have seen some monsters out there. Milton was one of them. And coincidentally, David, was it the smallest one in that top 5 list? I got to have it in front of me here. I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, Milton was very, very tiny, particularly the eye.
4 miles wide, 3.8
Yeah.
miles.
The eye wall was smaller than the average size of eyes in Atlantic storm. So yeah, this was an exceptionally small storm, to start. And it was almost like the diametric opposite of Helene and Katrina. But as the storm started being sheared, then it started to grow in size, and now we're seeing much bigger effects throughout the whole state of Florida, Mike. That's kind of what happened.
Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but wasn't Wilma's eye 2 miles wide? Like, I believe that's the most intense by pressure hurricane we've ever had in the Atlantic.
Yes, in the Atlantic, Wilma holds that record. If you want to talk like an equivalent in the Eastern Pacific, Patricia's eye was around a similar size. There's something about these storms with these really tight pinhole eyes that they zip up and rapidly intensify for reasons that are still being studied, because part of the problem is, when it comes to these numerical weather prediction models, like normally you get multiple grid points to resolve like the eye and the eye wall. In some of these models, you get a grid point to resolve the whole thing, and they just struggle with that. I know very early on in Milton's life cycle, the Hurricane Center forecasters were just basically said, yeah, we don't believe the models. This is going to blow up. And it did.
Now, again, Milton at one point did weaken to a Category 4, perhaps maybe because of this land interaction down here with Mexico. Of course, some very light shearing happening at that point. But then at this moment right here, this number 5 right here, we were streaming yesterday live, and it kind of took my breath away a little bit with David there when the 5 o'clock update dropped, and they went from 155 here to 167 back to a Category 5. That really took my breath away a little bit. And I think right there at that moment, David, when we saw the Cat 5 get issued again, that was where it triggered like a mass exodus of people from the southwestern portion of Florida, being that you just don't see that all that often. Meanwhile, Milton, just look at this path. It's so weird. From the Bay of Campeche all the way to Florida over crazy warm water the whole time. I mean, 1,000 miles there. Kind of the worst case scenario, right? One can think when it comes to the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, you can certainly have it the other way. If one were to form right here near Cuba and head up toward Texas or Louisiana, and unrestricted by land. But my God, thankfully we had wind shear and some dry air here, because at one point, I mean, we were looking at a full-fledged major league disaster if Milton had not weakened on final approach. David, so obviously we're seeing a lot of damage coming in, right? Tropicana Field damaged, Sarasota downtown where it did make landfall, where Capucci was, completely flooded out. A 12-foot storm surge near the Manatee River. Let's play an if here, David. Let's say if it did not weaken, what could have this looked like for folks there along the southwestern coast?
Well, I think you're talking about storm surges about 12 to 15 and maybe 18 feet. Although we say that, and from the images that Jordan and Matthew showed us, that there were some serious surges anyway. But, we talk about how when it comes to property damage, that's storm surge. When we come to loss of life, now that's rainfall. So you would have seen a lot more damage. And the really concerning thing is that depending on how this track wobbled here and there, as you can see this track there, it does catch the wobble. It does look like it caught a trochoidal wobble and then bent a little bit to the right.
just a little bit farther south, you're talking storm surge back in the areas that got wrecked by Ian 2 years ago, and they're still probably rebuilding down there. Now, the one thing I want to say about the storm that's unique, and I think Jordan brought this up before, is because it's doing this extratropical transition, the winds on the western side are blowing up right now. I was looking at the wind observations from the Tampa airport, and they're pushing 90 miles per hour after the center has passed. So even if we had a symmetric storm, big storm surge, but this is such a unique case, Mike. It's really something to watch.
I want to share. Erica sent this to me over Slack here. But Jack, if we want to take the web browser here, this is courtesy of Yimby St. Pete on X. I mean, y'all can see this crane here on top of the building. So it fell onto this building here. So the crane right here at the top of the building collapsed. And look at that. It landed right on top of this building here. I mean, that is awful, right? Erica also shared this video here from the city of DeLand. Of course, this is north of Orlando in Orange County, of some transformers exploding.
Mike, I also shared just now the pictures of what the damage looked like on the ground from that crane.
Okay, I'll pull it up here in a moment. Jack, is the audio coming through of this? I've got it turned on. No. All right, no worries. All right, Erica, so I'll have to refresh here. Okay, whoa, look at that. This one comes to us from Nimbus Storms. Wow. Oh, no. That is awful. So that's the result of that crate. Look at that on the side of the building. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, so
Hello.
Capucci. Oh, he's in Zoom. Good, good. Capucci, welcome back.
I'm trying. I have such little Wi-Fi, but
all right. Well, let's take advantage of
Here I
the
am.
time while we've got him now. So do we have Capucci's camera? Capucci, you're not seeing our stream, are you?
I'm able to see a little bit of it. But
so
yeah,
there was
I mean,
a
my
crane
camera's
collapse in
transmitting at
downtown
about
St.
2,000
Petersburg.
kilobytes per second. What collapsed? The stadium?
No, Tropicana Field is damaged. Yes, that's in Tampa, St. Pete, and then a crane collapsed in St. Petersburg. We just showed some photos of it. So I think now people are starting
that
to.
I'm aware of. So yeah, so sometimes folks will probably see a lot of cranes moving. That they do something called crabbing, where they basically try to blow with the wind like a weather vane. But there's only a certain point, and I think that the hurricane's gusts have been so erratic and they change direction so much towards that eye wall that it doesn't surprise me that the crane toppled over. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to get back to my hotel, and it's tricky because the road that the hotel is on is surged. I just can't get through. It's too dangerous. So I'm on an alternate road a mile or two inland, and they're going to try to cut back and get to my hotel through a sneaky back way. The issue is I honestly can't find my hotel. I can't type it into the GPS because I have little to no cell service, which is why it's amazing, frankly, that we're chatting right now. I can't even use Apple Maps, but I can somehow talk to y'all on Zoom. But yeah, if you look around, you obviously see there are tons of trees in the road, and I'm trying to sort of navigate around those. If we go to this next intersection, it looks to me like the traffic signs might be hanging down. It's very tough to tell. Everything's disorienting. You sort of forget how easy it is to get lost when you don't have any road marks. And like even this street, can I make it past here?
Capucci, for what it's worth, if you can hear me, if you want to give Mauricio a call and find generally kind of where you are, Mauricio could guide you to where you need to go to and give you directions.
Sorry, plowing over tree branches right now. If I get one flat, that's okay. I have one spare tire. That's all right. Was Mauricio able to push the video?
I believe so. Jack, do you know
Not yet.
Not yet?
We need something else from you, Capucci, because there was something that we needed. I checked it. So if you can check the message.
Oh, geez. Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Yes. Mauricio, yes, if you can hear this, yes, the last map is a push area, but if y'all would mind pushing ASAP, that would be great. Much appreciated. But yeah,
Cool.
I'm honestly just trying to get back to where I'm residing tonight, based only on where the railroad tracks are. And I think I know where I'm going, but it's tricky because I mean, look at all the trees in the road. I've already gone over several sets of
Right.
trees. Now I'm heading back west towards Tamiami Trail. Tamiami, or Route 41, Highway 41, is kind of the big north to south thoroughfare, and it's inaccessible in Venice and Sarasota and North Sarasota and a number of major communities, which is, obviously pretty concerning.
What's Capucci? So ever since when we last spoke with you and you saw the couch fly past you and water draining out of that Embassy Suites pool, I mean, describe. I mean, we see your camera here, but it's obviously nighttime here. We can really only see what's out in front of us here. What does it look like around you?
Right now, it honestly, it's just a sea of darkness. It's crazy. You're driving around. There's so much mist in the air that everything's so mysterious, and then all of a sudden, there is a tree down that you can't see until the last minute, or there's something hanging down, or there's a low wire. Coming back from a hurricane is almost like navigating an intense obstacle course, and it's very eerie.
2 million customers now without power across Florida, so we've crossed a pretty big milestone there. Capucci, you're in Sarasota, correct?
I am in Sarasota right now. Yeah, I'm a little bit north of downtown. Downtown is in big trouble in that there are 4 or 5 feet of surge.
Yeah, 67% of customers without power in Sarasota County. That's equal to 201,000 customers. And then for Manatee County, which is, of course, home to Bradenton and Mayaca City, 72% of customers without power there. That is 190,000 people. So we're talking, up and over 500,000 customers just in that area alone. And remember, the human impact is likely considerably higher than the number of customers. Capucci, hopefully your hotel has power here. By the way,
no, it
nearby
doesn't. I went in earlier on, and the only thing that works is the keypad, but that's battery operated. But my hotel won't have power. I don't think you guys will have power tonight. I think that by 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll be without power.
Well, for what it's worth, we did not lose power during Ian. So we shall see. Of course, Ian kind of pushed east and south of us, but luckily our power lines here in downtown Orlando are underground. We'll see, right? We shall indeed see. Meanwhile, next door, Hardee County, that's where the storm is right now, by the way, at least the center of it. Hardee County, 97.5% of customers without power there. It's smaller, right? That's equal to 9,400 customers. But even still, a long night for the folks of Zolfo Springs, Wachula, Charlie Creek, Bowling Green. Not good times there. Capucci, I guess we'll keep chatting here for as long as we have you here. Of course, looks like those traffic lights are out in front of you. Not a pleasant trip there.
No, and I honestly don't know where I am. I'm making sure I don't go down any one ways or anything. I'm pretty sure this is Tamiami Trail. I hope it is. At least there's no water on this part of Tamiami. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is Tamiami Trail. Let's see. It looks like it is.
All right. I see. I see people in the chat asking what our plans are if we lose power. Listen, we're going to stay with you as long as we possibly can. Someone says from Orlando here, wish my power lines were underground. Been without power for hours in the Orlando area. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have that sting jet coming in just a few hours. So that crazy wind that I'm getting, now I'm looking at the radar, and I can tell you, Mike, it's going to get probably 30 miles per hour worse than whatever you're getting right now. And even still, I mean, look at the winds on this north-south road where I am. It's crazy. At least I'm hearing something weird underneath my car. So I have a stick or something embedded in the bottom. As long as I can make it back to my hotel, I don't care what else happens. But
you want to stop for a moment and check?
No, I'm only a mile away. I just know that sometimes with all the debris, like last time, for example, I had part of a palm tree that got stuck in the undercarriage. But yeah, it looks like there's some sort of structural damage over here to my right. It's tough to tell exactly in the dark. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking at the velocity here from Melbourne. And the winds are whipping right now over the airport, really. in Orlando. In fact, you know, something that we haven't done here. Let me switch to composite. And what we're going to do is I'm actually going to click the little cloud icon, and this is the forecast panel here. So let's see, in Osceola County here, we have got winds gusting, from the west, 32 mile per hour sustained winds. I mean, that gusting is going to be crazy, though. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean,
79
this
79
kind of
degrees in
storm,
Florida,
I
not
think
bad.
this will catch a lot of people off guard because with the jet dynamics, with the, you know, the non-tropical aspects of this storm, it's going to retain its strength inland much farther than normal. I mean, even at radar level, I'm seeing 110, 120 mile an hour winds over areas just north of Lakeland, which is crazy. And obviously, we're not quite getting gusts to 120 at the surface, but Lakeland's probably still seeing winds 90 plus miles per hour. Orlando will see gusts over 85, maybe more. And you know, I thought I went conservative in my wind forecast the other day, or rather, I thought I went generous, and it wound up being conservative. I said gusts to 105, and I mean, we well outpaced that. I got gusts of 115 even here, and I'm sure that Tampa saw gusts of 110 in a few areas. It's insane.
Yeah, someone's saying I'm confused. Is it in the cone of probability or north of it? So Orlando is north of the cone right now, but as Capucci's alluding to, with the non-tropical characteristics of this storm, it effectively, David, right? I mean, effectively, the south side of the storm has seemingly disappeared, and this is typically a process that you see that occurs when tropical cyclones reach Nova Scotia, for example. So the northern portion of the storm has really taken over. It's just a bulldozer of rain right now. And to Capucci's point, David, if you can break down again for our viewers what a sting jet is here.
Sure. A sting jet is something you usually see on the backside of a mesovortex, or or a mesocyclone that you usually normally get in the mid latitudes as rain evaporates into dry air. That makes that air heavier and it drives that downward, and it's bringing these higher wind speeds down to the surface. And that's what you're seeing here with this on the western side. And to what Matthew was talking about before, I was looking at the ASOS station at the not the Orlando airport, the Tampa airports. And what was happening was that the wind speeds, this is just at the ASOS station at the airport, take it for what it's worth. They were sustained to about, wind speed of 20, gusts to about 30 miles per hour at 315. Then all of a sudden, I want to say at 8:10 p.m., it jumps to sustained of 50, 60, and gusts up to 90. And the wind shifted from out of essentially the east to out of the north. So you're on the western side of this storm, and the winds picked up significantly, and I think that's what's coming to the rest of the state. So I had my neighbor text me, said that things were dying down a little bit in Lakeland, but if you look at the radial winds on radar, you see these huge winds to the west. So I think what's going to happen, and what you're going to have to watch out for in Orlando, as I was looking at the Orlando airport, is that they're going to tick up to like tropical storm. The storm's going to pass, and then all of a sudden you're going to get this big wind shift to the north and start seeing some significant increases in the wind speed, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, we have folks in the chat that are saying that they have power in Orlando, that they don't have power in Orlando, and thank you, folks, for rocking with us here. Remember, of course, we're using the My Radar app. It is completely free to download. You can download it on iOS, Android, Amazon, as well as on Windows PC. That's where I'm using it here. The Hurricane Tracker, Per Station Radar, the features that I'm using on screen right now are premium features, but right now we do have a free 3-day trial for those premium features. So if you download the app, you sign up to the trial, you'll get it through, I guess it would be technically here. It's now Thursday, by the way, 12:06 a.m. Eastern time. You'll have it through Sunday. So that's more than enough time to get through Milton. And then if you want to continue with the premium features there, then that's great. That helps support future development and our awesome engineering team. If you don't want to use the premium features, it is what it is. For the record, by the way, if you look at the hurricane tracker here, the official forecast from the NHC calls for this storm to remain a Category 1 hurricane as it exits the eastern coastline. Capucci, David, is that something that I mean, based on what you guys are describing here, sounds like that doesn't surprise you all that much, that the storm will maintain Category 1 intensity. Right now, by the way, it is still a Cat 2 at 100 mile per hour winds.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not remotely surprised. It's moving at a somewhat decent clip. I mean, it's slower than it was earlier, but
16 miles per hour, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly surprised given what I'm feeling here. And I know looking at some of the observations, it's really been penetrating inland quite well in terms of the wind, partly thanks, of course, to those baroclinic or non-tropical processes. But yeah, I mean, even far inland, it is definitely packing a punch and then some.
Yeah, we have a report here on YouTube. Take it for what it's worth. Someone saying that the power is down by University Boulevard between UCF and Full Sail. Of course, those are two schools here in the Orlando area. That's pretty much just to the east of where we are. So, yeah, again, if we look at the power outage map here, and I turn off the hurricane tracker for just a moment, I talked about how, severe storms train and have like a history. Notice that everything behind the storm now is in this red color. It was blue, then it ticked up to orange, now it's red, and you're starting to see that as well. Lakeland was at 17% total customers that are out. Now it's up to 24%. So it keeps ticking up, right? Orlando and Orange County, we're now up to 4.5% total customers without power. That was at roughly 3 point something percent not too long ago. Osceola County, 9.3%. Seminole County at 5%, and then out ahead of that in Volusia County, now up to 10%. So again, for the folks back here on the west side, again, Hardy County is effectively completely blacked out. Hillsborough County, roughly 50% of the customers without power there. Manatee County, 78% of customers rounded up, or 77, I should say. 76% of customers in Sarasota County. Pinellas County, 71%. Again, this storm is just ripping through the west coast of the state and now really pushing through central Florida. Capucci, for you being on the ground, and you were on the ground for Helene, now that you've had time to effectively chase both of them equally here, how do you differentiate both of the storms? What will you remember most about them?
The honest answer is I don't feel Helene was a Category 4 at landfall. It may have been at the immediate coastline, but even still, it didn't necessarily look like it from a data standpoint. Didn't even feel like a Cat 3 to me. This felt like every bit of a Cat 3. It felt a little bit like Hurricane Sally back in 2020, which I was in Gulf Shores, Alabama for. I mean, it's been so impressive to see the backside winds and how much the storm really has held together, courtesy of those non-tropical processes and that sting jet wrapping in. But it's one of those storms that seems to have everything. It had destructive and deadly tornadoes that may have been close to EF4 in strength. It had an intense surge of more than 10 feet. It had crazy flooding rains, a record 1,000-year rainfall event in Tampa. It had, of course, the incredibly strong winds, a sting jet. This storm has everything in the worst possible way. And unfortunately, it's leaving quite a mark, and it's leaving, a lot of folks who are going to have a lot of cleaning up to do.
All right. So, Capucci, if you just hang on for 1 second here, I think David's there with his family. He's got his young son with him there. So David, I think, is going to get going here momentarily. For one, David, thank you once again for sticking with us and streaming. I know prior to your time with My Radar, I guess your media opportunities and whatnot were somewhat limited, but you've become a bit of a media darling here in your time with My Radar. So again, thank you very much for taking the time to rock with us. Jack, how long have we been streaming for?
I think 7 hours.
7 hours and 40 minutes. And David's been here pretty much for the entire time. So, David, again, thank you very much. But before we say goodbye, I got one more thing for you here. Same question to Capucci that I gave to Capucci. I'd like to ask you, from your perspective, and from looking at things on a deeper, more expert level, of course, in your area of expertise here, what do you think will be the story of Milton here when all is said and done? It's been a pretty wild storm.
Give me 15 seconds. I'm so sorry. 15 seconds.
Go ahead, Capucci.
Sure, go ahead, Matt. Wait, did you need a 15-second break? Oh, he left.
Boy, does he know how to make us wait on pins and needles, huh? Wow,
Just
he
disappeared.
he got us all.
Vanished.
He got us all.
Took him
all
15
right,
seconds to vanish. I think that's what he meant.
go ahead, David.
Yeah, so Matt talked about all of the different aspects of like the landfall, the extratropical transition, the major hurricane landfall, the sting jet, the tornadoes. But if you even go back farther than that, this storm was a Category 5 twice. It went the wrong way. It went from west to east, from Bay of Campeche all the way to the Florida coast. And if you go back before that, Helene happened. I remember when Helene was making landfall, and we said, "Hey, there's something else that's going to be developing in the Western Caribbean," and we just kind of like were waiting and waiting on this blob to show up. This storm formed initially from the Central American gyre, and what eventually planted the seed for this in the Bay of Campeche was a piece of vorticity that trekked over the mountains of Mexico and acted as the seed to sit in this giant blob of rotating air, this giant rotating air mass from the Central American gyre. So the whole story of Milton, from the tornadoes and the sting jet all the way back to whatever this was that crossed the Mexican mountains, this is going to be one of those legendary tales of hurricane wonder and woe for everyone. And as I was looking at observations, like, it's not over. Like I said, my neighbor in Lakeland, whose power is out, he texted me and he's like, "Yeah, it got really quiet all of a sudden." And I'm like, "I think you're in the eye." And based on everything we've seen, like, it's going to get a lot worse for you as the western part of this eye wall gets to you. So this whole Milton thing, like, obviously these last few hours have been really intense to watch, but the whole story of Milton has just been one wild ride, Mike.
David, I think that you put a bow on it there perfectly. Please send our best to your wife and to the rest of your family. Again, David, thank you very much. We got to get some W's in the chat for David for spending his time with us. He could be hanging out with the folks from the National Weather Service there, but David's here with us. So again, thank you very much, David. I appreciate it as always.
Had a pleasure, guys. I'll be talking to you tomorrow.
Someone said W hurricane brain. That's hysterical. So
love it.
Gotta love it. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Good night, everyone.
All right. So there's Dr. David Ruglicki. Fantastic. What an evening it has been thus far. So I'm still joined by Colin McCarthy and meteorologist Erica Lopez. Jack, can we pull up Jordan's live stream here? I guess we're still waiting on for Capucci to rejoin us. But yeah, let's show Jordan's live stream. That is a troubling sight there. I'm hearing that it looks like Jordan's shot was on a few other networks, which is cool. Jordan, Jack, is he in the chat? Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yikes. Yeah, that's what I thought. And then how are things looking on those Orlando cameras? You said they're working a lot better right now. Is that because of Andy fixing them? And look at that. That billboard, it's still hanging on. Look at that. There's our shot of our parking lot there. Man, I'm hoping that tree stays up. I mean, it's rocking. And look at that one. That's looking out west. You can see the Kia Center kind of right there in the background of the shot there. Just to the right over there is Orlando City's Inter & Co. Stadium. But,
I'm glad that it's looking empty. I'm glad people aren't out on the roads trying to check
Ian
this
last
out.
time, Erica, there were people on the road. I remember last time during Ian. Overnight, I forgot what time we inevitably kind of rounded things out, but there weren't people on the roads then. But that being said, troubling to say the least. Was that a power flash, Jack, that I just saw, or are my eyes playing tricks on me there?
Might just be the lights moving around, maybe.
Okay. Colin, I saw that. I apologize, Colin. I know you had something to share earlier related to the storm surge. We've talked a lot about what those storm surge numbers could ultimately be. There were some pretty bonkers numbers forecast. Bear in mind, Helene brought 7 feet of storm surge to Tampa, and that storm went 100 miles north of Tampa. We did see a 12-foot storm surge reported near the Sarasota area. And Colin, what do you have to report?
Yeah, well, in Tampa Bay, we saw something as of an almost an anti-storm surge where the water was actually pulled out of the bay and actually peaked 5.5 feet below the normal water level. I saw some videos of literally parts of the bay were literally dry because I believe that Sting Jet sucked all the water out of the bay. I don't know if you guys have any theories for it, but it's kind of we've seen. Believe we saw this with Ian a few years ago, but it's
Yes.
just incredible to see this, I guess, in real time. So,
To Colin's point, when you see water get pulled away from somewhere, it's coming
like a
back.
tsunami.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah.
I remember when
Yeah.
Capucci was, I can't remember exactly where he was, but he was obviously covering Hurricane Ian, and he went out to the water and was effectively standing where water normally is, right? And it had pulled back so far. What's effectively happening, folks, I mean, I think the best way for me to show it here, excuse me, is to go into the app here. We're going to tap on the layers menu and turn on the winds. This is going to be the best way for me to show you this. I'm just going to turn off the per station here for a minute. So again, a hurricane is a center of low pressure, right? The winds around low pressure rotate counterclockwise. And effectively what that's doing is it's like a big sink, okay, in the atmosphere. And so effectively what's happening there, to Colin's point, it's effectively like a giant toilet, and you have winds just rushing toward it, and that means that it's going to pull. These are ground-based winds, right? It's going to pull water, as an example, toward the center of it. I'm sure you've seen the storm surge forecast for the east coast of Florida and thinking, like, what the heck's going on there? The storm's making landfall in the west. Well, the winds layer, I think, here does a really good job at showing you exactly why that is. Remember, they're rotating counterclockwise, so look at these winds that are slamming back into the east coast. Melbourne, Palm Bay, Sebastian, Titusville, New Smyrna, Daytona Beach, right? Let me pull up the storm surge forecast for the National Hurricane Center. Yeah, Jack, switch to the web browser real quick here so we can show folks here. 1 to 3 feet right here of storm surge north of Palm Bay, and then from Sebastian Inlet through Cape Canaveral, Titusville, Melbourne, Cocoa, Vieira, all the way up to South Carolina. There's 3 to 5 feet of storm surge expected. I know that may not seem like a lot. 5 feet of storm surge is significant. That is enough to really mess some things up here, particularly on the St. Johns River here, considering the people live along it, right? That's up near, Erica, up into Jacksonville, 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. It's not to be messed with. Not to mention down here in Cape Canaveral, you've got Port Canaveral, one of the busiest ports in the United States, the second busiest behind Port Miami. You've got Kennedy Space Center down there, and Cocoa Beach and the beachfront communities there are beautiful and super vibrant. But 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, again, may not seem like a lot there. It's not good. It's certainly not good. And the reason why, again, if we switch back to the app here, Jack, you can really see that well on the using the wind layer here. And then coincidentally, if I switch to the jet stream, which is the air upstairs here, this, by the way, is completely free to do in my radar. You switch to the jet stream and notice you are seeing effectively the shear, right? You're seeing the jet stream. This is, again, the air upstairs with the winds coming in from the south. At the surface, it's just a little different. But needless to say, that is one powerful center of low pressure here, again, with those winds coming down from the upper portion of the atmosphere. Golly. All right, let's switch back here. Colin, did you have something else that you needed to share?
Mike, there's some.
Oh, you stepped away for a second? Go ahead, Erica.
I just saw here, see if I could pull up some of the obs. We're seeing some tropical to possibly hurricane force winds in Orlando. See if I can pull this up. I just lost it. I had this web browser up and I don't know where it went. Let's see if
yes, people on YouTube asking about the about Tropicana Field. Yes, we covered that earlier. Terrible. Terrible. And a great point, JB, saying especially during high tide. Absolutely. During high tide, it kind of pumps up that storm surge. as well.
Oh, Mike, and just like an update on the power outages, I think 2.2 million customers are without power now in Florida. So that number is definitely jumping pretty quickly.
Yeah, and it's so let me pull back here again. In my radar, you can look at power outages. So let me turn off hurricane tracker. I'm just gonna turn everything off for a moment here, and then ready. Check this out. 1, 2, 3. Boy, that's a lot of power outages, right? If you zoom out here, mind you, I mean, this is literally hurricane season from the past 2 weeks. All of this that you're seeing right here. These are folks up in North Carolina. I'm sure that y'all have seen the videos up there. I mean, literally like once in a generation, once in 2 generation flooding up there. Those people still do not have power. Power starting to get restored here across parts of Georgia and South Carolina. But now this humanitarian crisis is kind of just beginning in Southwest Florida. Where the city of Tampa, again, has never had a hurricane landfall, or hasn't had a hurricane landfall since 1921. Remains to be seen whether or not the NHC is going to consider this landfall here near Sarasota as that landfall. Really going to be splitting hairs there. But Erica, as we talk about, severe storms when you're dealing with even tornadoes, right, or a tornado outbreak, storms will train, right, along a line, the path of least resistance in the atmosphere. And effectively what we're seeing here is storms with a history. And it's not storms, it's a storm, it's Milton. And you're seeing kind of the power outages continue to tick up as the storm tracks eastward. Again, if I turn the hurricane tracker layer on, the center of circulation is right here over Polk County. Last we checked, I think that was at like 17% total customers without power. It's now up to 24.7% of total customers without power. Out ahead of it, we've got Seminole County, which is north of Orlando, still holding strong at 5%. Orange County, I should say, at 4.5%. Osceola 9.3. So, Erica, we haven't seen a big jump up there yet. But, folks, if you live in one of those counties, again, we're this blue dot. That's us.
Yeah, and Jack, I want to show my screen because this is just the reports of the wind gusts so far. So it looks like MCO, Orlando International Airport, reported a wind gust of 70 miles per hour. Even the executive airport in Orlando, 62. I'm trying to see what this is. This is, I think, Mulberry, 78 mile per hour wind gust reported. And even in Daytona Beach International, 78 mile per hour wind gust. So those are hurricane
on the other side of the state. On the other side of the state. Golly.
And even at the Cape here. So I'm seeing, this is where all the launches happen. And I guess it disappeared. So 67 mile per hour wind gusts reported there, even 69 here. KC Tower 1, 67 right there on the beach. So, those are tropical storm force wind gusts. But yeah, even in Daytona, hurricane force wind gusts there.
All right. I actually just texted him. Looks like Capucci is back in the Zoom. Capucci, can you hear me?
I can. I was trying to get into my hotel, but I couldn't figure out which room was mine. It was one of those, those outside motels where well, not outside, but the, doors face the outside. I was trying to get into mine, but the issue is there's a power outage and there's no light anywhere. So I couldn't figure out which one was mine. And so I was trying to go door to door and look at the numbers, but shine a flashlight, but I couldn't, turn on my phone, a flashlight because the phone was wet. And I was also on Zoom at the same time. So multitasking galore. But yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible storm. And it's funny, every time I think it's almost over, it pulses back up again. We get a big additional roar of wind. And it's just been virtually nonstop here.
Erica just walked through the OBS too for here in Orlando. And to your point that you guys continue to make here, it does indeed look like we are going to get rocked here in downtown Orlando at seemingly any moment now as this thing pushes eastward here. I can't get over the fact that it's like such a steep drop off and again, the transition that it's undergoing here, that the south side here, like if you live in, Sebring or Avon Park here, you're thinking, what hurricane? It's not even that far away. And it's still chugging along at Category 2 intensity, right? So it's quite a storm.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting the stinger right now. The stinger is almost past me. You guys are going to get the stinger. And it's amazing to see how a non-tropical process can make things so much worse than they otherwise would be. And one thing I want to mention too, Mike, is that you've had so much rainfall already that any trees are going to be kind of loosened in the soil. That would make it that much easier for trees to topple when the biggest winds come through. That would cause more power outages. So the fact that we've had so much water is a very problematic thing when it comes to power outages and vegetation damage, because those trees will topple quite easily.
Yeah, so again, with my radar here, you are able to track a whole lot, right? We pride ourselves on having a ton of different features within the app. Again, the app is completely free to download on iOS, Android, Windows, Amazon. In the layers menu here, this is how you access pretty much everything. This is kind of your launching point for everything. Tons of stuff here, but I want to make very clear to you that if you can track pretty much every single kind of weather alert that exists on the planet Earth. You can toggle all of them on at the same time, or you can toggle certain ones on. For example, I've got tornado warnings turned on, severe thunderstorm warnings turned on, and flash flood and flood warnings turned on. The red color there is the flash flood warning, of which there is one in place for Orange County for the next hour and a half. Of course, that is home to Orlando, where they're anticipating roughly 16 inches of rainfall. Sorry, 14 inches of rainfall total, potentially even some more locally. Earlier today, of course, there was a flash flood emergency in place for the Lakeland area. I want to make sure that it is still in effect. Yes. So again, in here, life-threatening flash flooding in effect for the next 3.5 hours for the city of Lakeland. Golly, I mean,
I would expect them to expand that too to Orlando. Once that,
especially with the amount of rain.
Kind of moves more. Yeah, just so much.
So much. I mean, I can't recall, Erica, maybe you can help me out here, if we had a flash flood emergency during Ian, because the totals are going to end up being pretty similar. I remember the retention pond in my development, because we were here all night, right? When I left, it was dry, and then when I came back, I mean, it was literally so full that the pumping station right next to it, that the alarm was going off, to the point where we had to have somebody come out from our city to effectively restart it, to the point where the retention pond was so full.
I'm pretty sure we did, because I remember, Lake Eola, that road was covered in water.
Yeah, do you remember walking down to Lake Eola?
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen the water that high ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was completely overflowed, and we're looking at the same amount. All right, we got Jordan in here now as well. Jordan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Let's take Jordan's camera.
Here, I'll show you. Let me move my camera for you quick so you can see what I'm actually looking at.
All right. So of course this is Storm Chaser Jordan.
Wow.
Is that a boat? Is that a boat in a carport?
Yeah, they have the boat parked under there, but the big part is that the carport collapsed. I'll back up to the next building over, actually. You guys can get a good visual here. So as we back up and go over here to the next building, you can see the devastation on this side too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, you've really got to hope, Jordan. I mean, have you seen any people? I mean, I would have to hope people got out of there.
So I haven't seen any people. So do you remember that those mobile homes I had the camera pointed at earlier that were underwater?
Yeah.
These are those mobile homes. The water is since receded. So
here, Jordan, we'll come back to you in just one second. I want to say thank you to Colin McCarthy. If y'all didn't know, Colin is actually still a student, and he's got homework to do. We want to make sure that we're not getting in the way of Colin and his schoolwork. I think he might have already left. I think he might be frozen there, Jack. So, Colin.
Yeah, I think he left.
I see him typing. Colin, thank you very much. If you can still hear me, we appreciate you hanging out with us as always. All right, he just messaged all of us. All right. So Jordan, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep walking us through things. Capucci is here as well. He made it back to his hotel.
Oh, he has a hotel? I wish I was that lucky.
Capucci, you still hear us? Well, might have lost Capucci as well, unless I just can't hear. Oh, there he is. Okay. So I don't know if you can see Jordan's stream here.
I was getting an overcall from the Denmark news, but they didn't I don't know. One thing I will say, I sometimes feel like it's great for us to do these international newscasts, but sometimes they forget we're in a hurricane, and so then they call like 8 times. They're calling again right now. This is the 4th time the Denmark news is called.
Well, go say hello to the Danes. Let us know how that goes.
All right, I'll see you in a sec.
All right, Jordan. So again, back to you. You haven't seen any people out there wandering around, right?
No, thankfully. I'll go ahead and point the camera back over here to my left. You can see all the stuff left on the ground from storm surge.
Ay. By the way, I guess I should. Jason just said something. I should make it pretty clear. Colin is a college student. It's not like he's a high schooler joining us and has homework to do the next day. Colin is, I believe, UC Davis. Yeah, we're not violating labor laws here. Colin is a college student. Look at that. I mean, Jordan, I don't know if you remember seeing the video that Capucci shared from Helene of literally a boat floating down the. Oh my gosh! Look at that debris. Oh yay. I mean, again, I'm trying to keep a silver lining here, Jordan. At least, those are mobile homes, right? So the key word there is mobile homes become mobile. At least it seems like they're still on there. It seems like they're still there, which I guess is the silver lining here. But boy, the sides of it, that carport there, totally wrecked. Look at that. Remember, folks, as we told you in the lead up to this, Jordan, you're in Venice, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, in the lead up to this, folks, we told you that this part of Florida, they just have never dealt with anything like this before. The last major hurricane was 1921. So, I mean, likely even their grandparents had not even experienced anything like what you're seeing here. And Jordan, I know you've been down in this part of the world fairly often where the cone has had Tampa, and you've talked to people. I'm not trying to put the good people of Tampa down, but I know you've talked about this on social media where people there kind of have, again, I don't want to speak generally here for everybody, but I know that you've run into people that just think that this was never going to happen, that they live in the lucky part of Florida, but that's just not the way that it works.
Right. Yeah. I hear that all the time. Every time I'm near Tampa, it's like, oh, they could say it's coming, but it's always going to miss us last second. So I always hear that.
Man, the damage is tough there, Jordan. Jordan, I know you're a big sports fan. Did you hear about the Trop in Tampa or in St. Petersburg?
Yes, I did.
Tough. I mean, if anything, right? I mean, the good news is, it's good news and bad news, I guess, is that they're out of the playoffs, right? So like their season's over. So they got some time to figure that situation out. Hopefully that the ownership doesn't use that as an excuse to move the team to Montreal, because like getting a team stolen from you is that's not good for anybody. Just ask the good people of Seattle, Washington, how that works out. Or shoot, what the people of Oakland are going through right now with the A's. So, Jordan, it's hard to tell. I mean, there is water right there. Jack, if you can take it in full here, there is water that's seemingly on their driveway there. Is that, Jordan, is that just a puddle of water there, or is that surge behind the house?
There's still a little bit of puddle there. There's a canal that runs directly behind the house. So that's where a lot of that surge came from.
For folks that are unfamiliar about with these neighborhoods in Florida, there's little canals that connect to, effectively in this instance, right near Venice, it would be the Gulf of Mexico. They're effectively, instead of having alleys behind your house, they're just teeny little waterways. So people that have boats and kayaks and wakeboards and whatnot can effectively take that canal out into the open water. It's kind of one of the big reasons why a lot of people move to this part of the state, is because there is, again, that waterfront access. Unfortunately, this is that risk that you take by living there, because those canals, as Jordan is alluding to, are little funnels that once the water gets trapped in there and it starts to rise, it really doesn't have anywhere to go other than what you're seeing right here. Go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, you get those little canals that are back there, and when that storm surge pushes up, it just gets funneled in and through those canals, and then you get that flooding that comes in behind where you would expect it. And that's also another danger that you face when you're out here and have to be prepared for, is where that flooding can trap you.
Hang on 1 second. All right. So, somebody in Twitch says, I've been here since 7 on and off because of my power. Here, Erica, if you just want to take over for just 1 second, I have to step away for a moment. Jack, if you want to take
Yeah,
Erica
sure.
on
So,
full screen there.
let me share my screen here so we can go through the app, and because I kind of want to show a little bit of what's going on. I see a lot of people asking about, what kind of warnings, update on power outages. So we'll do that here really quickly, and we'll keep Jordan's camera here, but let's show this real quick. So I have the app here for those that are wondering what's going on, and let's toggle on the alerts. Well, actually, let's go to the power outages because these numbers keep going up in very drastic way. The center of the storm is starting to move over Central Florida now, especially to Orlando. Orlando earlier, if you're watching us here earlier, I was reporting that we were seeing hurricane force wind gusts already in Orlando. And so, of course, that is probably what's also leading to the power outages. But I want to get a quick update on that, and let's do that. So about 2.1, I think, million customers are still without power. Let me update that number because this just keeps going up, and I see a lot of you talking in the chat about power outages. Let me know if you're watching us and maybe you don't have power where you are. But right now, 2.2 million customers without power. It looks like the number has gone up since the last time I've seen it. Some of the hardest hit counties are Hardy County, Orange County, already up to nearly 40,000 customers without power. So that's where Orlando is located. And Volusia County, interestingly enough, that's where we saw Daytona Beach reported a wind gust of 78 miles per hour. So right now, Volusia County, 46,000 customers without power so far. And in Northeast Florida, not seeing much in terms of power outages, but that's really what is going on there. And so I think Orlando, you guys are waiting for the storm, bracing for it. Wind's already starting to pick up there, and that'll continue throughout the next several hours. So just stay home if you can. And make sure that your devices are charged so you can get any of the latest alerts. Now, let's talk about some of those alerts that we've been tracking mostly right now. And people are asking about that tornado threat. We're not seeing any tornado warnings right now with this storm. I think if we go into tomorrow morning, maybe parts of Northeast Florida might see it, but I think really as the storm comes inland, it's really starting to fall apart here. Still Category 2 hurricane though over Central Florida. I think that will start to diminish, but we're still seeing a lot of rainfall and even that flooding threat. So I want to turn on that flooding threat here. And again, we are using the MyRadar app, completely free for you guys to download. You can follow along with me and track the Hurricane Milton, and even track the alerts. So if you are in this flood area, you should have gotten an alert on your phone. You can also toggle alerts on your phone. Maybe you just didn't know that those existed. That's definitely something that you can toggle on your phone. But let's get an update here. So this is for Orange County, that flash flood warning. And so it's still in effect here until at least 2 o'clock this morning. Includes Osceola County, Seminole, Volusia County, Lake County. So you're still under that flash flood warning. Life-threatening flash flooding is a possibility here, and that's going to continue. I think we may get another warning here as we head towards the overnight. So a lot to take in with this storm and a lot to track. So let's, if you have any questions on what you might see later on today, drop in the chat. I'm monitoring everything that you guys are saying here as we track Hurricane Milton. But yeah, let me know where you are. Are you reporting power outages? What are you seeing in your city? Our cameras here in Orlando, and I'm curious to see what they look like, Jack. Maybe if we can pull it up there on what's going on there. I think the screen's a little too small, so I think I can't see it, but let's do this. Okay, yeah, so, still a lot of rainfall. The wind's still blowing around. And yeah, I don't know. That looks pretty eerie there. I'm glad no one's out on the roads. Yeah, it looks like the rain's a lot heavier now in Orlando. I think earlier when we were watching these cameras, you could at least see a little bit of the building lights, but it looks like it's a little bit more foggy now. Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, you're seeing the rain just pouring over this area. And yeah, we're waiting to see if they get a wind gust. So I'm actually going to check some of the observations here and see if we got any newly reported wind gusts. I did see earlier that the rainfall, we've gotten some significant rainfall already in and around the Orlando area. Some of the highest totals I'm seeing are, let's see, almost 6 1/3, 8 inches of rainfall here. This is the Orange Fire 40 reporting station. Yeah, so already seeing significant rain. I'm seeing 4 to 5 inches of rainfall along the I-4 corridor. Deltona, where we shared that video earlier that had power outages, nearly up to 8 inches of rainfall. And then in Flagler, 10 inches of rainfall just from the last 24 hours. So already seeing some significant rainfall accumulations across Florida. But let's talk about, and I want to get an update on these wind gusts. See if it's a little slow to load.
Hey there, Erica. Well, can you hear me?
Oh, hey, Capucci. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, awesome. While you're talking about rainfall, it reminded me, Tampa, as we saw earlier, saw 5.09 inches of rain in a single hour's time. I think, one thing you've been doing a great job communicating with folks is that it's not just a lot of rainfall, but it's that the rainfall rates are so incredibly heavy that they'll overwhelm storm drains. They'll sort of cause excessive runoff because no surface can really absorb 3-4 inches of rain in a single hour. Tropical cyclones, for the folks at home, are such incredibly efficient rain producers. During normal downpours, part of the raindrop evaporates on the way down, but in hurricanes, you have almost 100% relative humidity. So there's not a stitch of dry air to erode any of the raindrops on the way down. And so none of it evaporates. And so you just have a ton of rain. But the weird part is the raindrops are actually smaller in tropical cyclones. You just have a lot more of them because it's something called a warm rain process. Ordinarily during downpours, you get big drops because you're getting, melting hail or snowflakes. Whereas in hurricanes, it's warm bottom to the top of the atmosphere. So there's nothing to really get a hailstone or a snowflake forming way high in the clouds. So you don't have anything big that's melting to produce bigger droplets. So just a ton of small droplets. But it's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. I mean, the rain here, as you pointed out, Erica, is excessive, extreme, and very impactful.
Yeah, and you saw it firsthand, so you were in the thick of the storm earlier. And I guess, what's your update? Where are you?
So I actually just got back into my hotel. The reason I had to disappear earlier from the stream was because I was trying to get into the hotel, but I couldn't figure out which room was mine. It was one of those ones where you have to enter from the outside. I couldn't honestly figure out which was mine because it's pitch black, and I was trying to use my phone flashlight, but I couldn't because the phone screen was wet. Obviously I'm coming to you on Zoom via the phone. And so everything's been a little bit chaotic, as you can imagine. I have no electricity. There's rainwater seeping into my room. I'm above the surge, but the only light I have, believe it or not, is from an exit sign. One of those, those like a fire escape this way or emergency exit signs. One of those flew through the parking lot and nearly hit me. And so, but it's still somehow lit up, even though it's been ripped out of the wall. I guess there's a battery backup. So it's my flashlight tonight. And I just posted a picture on Twitter too.
Yeah, I thought I was about to plug that in because if you want to actually see the picture of what it looks like where Capucci is, go to his Twitter and you will see him with the exit sign. It doesn't look like an exit sign, but I hope it's safe.
Well, honestly, the exit part blew out, so now that's just left as a frame, but it has the lights at least. I don't even know where the rest of it went.
Leave it to Capucci to pick up something random for light. Well, I'm glad you're safe. The storm seemed very intense, and I know you and Jordan were talking about it. It was a little bit more
rise, and you unfortunately have to deal with the flooding waters, and it just seems to take forever to go down. Now, the Hillsborough River is set to break its record. It's one of the only here that we're looking at measured. The record's 15.3 feet. It's already up to 11.82 feet, and it's expected to crest at 16.2 feet before starting that ever so slow recession of the water. Moving on to the Little Manatee River near Waimama, it will come shy of its record of 20 feet when it hits 18.5 feet at the peak tomorrow, and it's currently about 4 feet short of that. It's just above moderate flood stage at 14.39 feet. Manatee River at Rye Bridge, it's on its way up, and it's almost at its peak. It's at 15.57 right now. It's going to peak at 17.1 feet, which is below the record of 20. But look how fast this one drains out. And so a lot of times the river stations that are closer to the bay, they empty out faster because they don't have quite as much quite as much to go through to get the water out of that particular location. Now, the Isle River near Lithia is the opposite. It has a quite slow recession, and so it's currently sitting at 14.44 feet, and it's going to head up to 19.9 feet and then slowly, ever so slowly recede down out of the major flood stage into the moderate flood stage. And so just checking in on the latest with this system, it did become a Category 2 storm. It's still centered over Polk County right here, and it's still moving to the east-northeast at 16 miles per hour as of that midnight advisory. Expected to become a Category 1 storm over Titusville before entering the Atlantic. This is the position Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And so it's really at this point that we're starting to feel basically all of the effects gone from our area because it is such a compact storm, or at least the weather effects gone from our area. The lingering effects over our area will be with us most likely for our lifetime. As far as what you are seeing out on our Bayshore Boulevard camera, they must have generator power because they've maintained some serious power and internet through all of this on our Winters and Yonker camera. But this is all from rainfall flooding, and it does look like it's receding a little bit because we're starting to see more and more of the curbs as well as the grassways on the other side of Bayshore Boulevard. And so it looks like our construction cone is down over here still so far. Can't find our stop sign. I think we lost a stop sign here, but yeah, it's over here on the side. So the stop sign got knocked over by the high winds and the rain right there on our Bayshore Boulevard camera. That was a really good indication of how deep the water was. There was also used to be a sign over on the other side that sometimes the water would go over that you could use as an indication. I don't see that one either. And so I did talk to Brittany Muller earlier. She was located near Lakewood Ranch, and she had to go inside because of the winds were getting so bad out there. She said they made the decision to go inside and get the cameras and equipment out of there because they saw street signs being basically ripped from their posts, and they were hitting the cars in the parking lot where she was. So that's just kind of a snapshot of how windy it gets out there in systems like this when we're talking about 90-mile-per-hour wind gusts, when we're talking about 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That kind of quantifies that for you because it's hard to imagine what that looks like because most of us have never seen anything like it, and I hope we don't see anything like it anytime soon again. Moving forward, this is our in-house model. If you'll remember, it's kind of helped us with speed up the timing of the system because it was accurate yesterday, showing us that we were going to have that earlier landfall than what all the other forecast models were showing. Well, the 1245 position shows it basically splitting Polk County with that eye wall, this edge of the eye wall here, the western edge with those severe winds. The severe rain already moving out of our area at this point, but still plenty of rain left over to exacerbate the severe rain we saw earlier. And then stepping through time here, let's go to 1 a.m. and we're still seeing that eye wall right over the half of Polk County there. Lakeland still in the thick of things with some of those wind gusts, and we're starting to see that moderate rain band move on shore in the areas that are most flooded, which is Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco, and parts of eastern Hernando County. That eye wall slowly moves on, and we get more rain bands moving through, unfortunately, by 3 a.m. The eye wall over Titusville at this point, so the severe winds starting to exit our area by the time 3 a.m. rolls around, but we're still left with tropical storm force winds through tomorrow morning. The last of the rain exits the Pasco, Hernando, Pinellas, Hillsborough area, which has been the one we've been watching so closely for the heaviest rainfall totals. It finally dries out there by 5 a.m. as the rain starts to exit Lakeland by 6 a.m. and then we start to see the wind shift a little bit and become more northwesterly, and we'll eventually start to clear out during the day tomorrow. We'll make it into the mid-80s. It'll be breezy throughout the day. The gusts will be in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range. The sustained winds will be in the 20 mile per hour range, but once the bridges are inspected, the winds tomorrow would not hold them back from being reopened. We're not going to see any situation like that. It won't remain closed because of winds, but it will cool us down. We're going to wake up in the 60s on Friday morning, and again on Saturday morning. The only silver lining to being without power is that it's windows open weather out there for a little bit.
Wow, it's going to be great come dawn, but in the meantime, oh my.
And when the light comes, I'm genuinely concerned for what
About
we're
what
going
you're
to
gonna
see,
yeah, well.
across so many communities. The communities in parts of Tampa where they had so much debris still lining the roadways, and then these southern communities that are enduring the surge as we speak.
Yeah, especially down south. I mean, who knows what that's going to look like anywhere. But we have some more pictures we want to show you that people are sending in to us. South Sparkman Street in Port Tampa.
All right, folks, back here with you on stream. Let's bring in Justin Mosley. JB here with you. We are getting ready for our next Q&A segment. Send in the questions right now that you would like for us to answer, the most pertinent questions with hashtag HeyJustin, hashtag HeyJB. What I'd like to do right now, I'm going to go to Justin for the latest on this storm in just a moment, but a familiar face wanted to say hello on the live stream. So let's bring up Report It. And let's get to the next video in the queue and listen in.
Hey JB, up here in Wesley Chapel, still a little windy and still some rain coming down, but check this out. The power is out across much of Wesley Chapel. We're at a hotel and we're using a backup generator, but looks like the worst of it has passed and things are starting to wind down. Sure do miss you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. See ya.
All right, let's hear it for Eric Stone.
Absolutely.
Who's been with us on stream.
Yes.
Obviously for such...
becoming
such
a staple here when it comes to these storms on the streaming platform.
It's pretty wild. You know, Eric it looks to be in great spirits up there at the backup location. It's nice to hear that that things are weakening there and the impacts are lessening. So what's the latest in that area?
Yeah, the radar trends are improving for much of the Tampa Bay area. We are still watching a moderate band on the radar right now, moving back into Pinellas County and looking at some of the model data. A lot of folks have been asking, when is this really going to come to an end? It's going to be until about 5 o'clock in the morning before we can get that last band that you see all the way out east of Polk County, and things will considerably come down. The good news is tomorrow we're expecting winds to be about 20 miles per hour sustained, maybe gusts 30, 35 miles per hour. And the sky is going to brighten up. And another silver lining in all this, it's going to turn cooler, JB, behind all this as we get into Friday and Saturday, which is a blessing for folks that do not have power. At least you can open up the windows and be able to sleep comfortably without the high humidity that we would have, say, if this happened in August.
Yeah, pretty wild that we're finally going to get the cool down that we look forward to every year, because we have sweltering heat all the time. And then all of a sudden, just like that, there's a cool down, and it's going to be on the back end of one of the largest storms to ever hit the Florida Peninsula.
Reminds me of Hurricane Wilma back in 2005. That situation made landfall, and it was actually chilly, not just cooler, behind the front. It was on par with a cold front, and it really brought a punch of cool air.
Yeah.
Unusual.
Yeah. Good memory there, Justin.
Been here a long time.
Yeah, I know. You got it. Yeah, you're a weather encyclopedia for this state. Folks, Justin Mosley here with you on, of course, Tracking the Tropics. JB here with you on the left side of the screen. We are about to start taking your questions in the Q&A segment. We're going to send you back to our on-air coverage, and then coming up in our on-air coverage, you'll see Justin and myself. So type in your hashtag HeyJustin, hashtag HeyJB questions now. I'm serious. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can in the segment. So if you have a question that you're really, just dying to get an answer for, we'll try to get you onto the live stream here momentarily. Stand by.
Down for a little bit longer, and hopefully we will stay dry and protected in this sheltered area here to continue bringing you a live coverage throughout the night. But for now, I'll send it back over to you guys in the dry and nice studio, because it is getting a little chilly out here too.
I bet it
Well,
is.
that's a twist. The fact that it's getting chilly in Florida, you sound like Rebecca Berry. He needs a jacket all of a sudden. But boy, the river was still moving though. The speed, it's like a whitewater
really
raft.
incredible, and the contrast from Helene, all that water into, and the river rose up and over the banks.
It would be over his head, where you saw Ty standing right there.
If we had storm surge
if it had
from
been
this,
storm surge, it'd be over his head in that
it would
garage.
have been catastrophic.
Oh, we have some more pictures we want to show about
We
it.
do.
This is in Valrico, a tree taking out a pool cage. Steve Wilson sending us in this video, and boy, you know, people spend so much money on these, and they're so nice to have. And man, when these cages get pummeled with weather like this. It's so disheartening.
And expensive.
And expensive.
Well, we want to show you this video shot around midnight tonight in Davenport. We keep talking about that area in Polk County. At least some of the lights are still on there, the street lights, but you can really see just how that wind is whipping that rain in that area.
Yeah, we're going to go to Polk County here in just a second, but I want to show you real quick a picture from Temple Terrace. Viewer Ryan Herber. Notice that right there? That's video of the power going out.
Yep.
While they were filming the conditions. Boom.
Yep.
And then it was, that's all she wrote. No more, nothing outside to see here.
It's so disheartening.
You can see the flash and then it's gone.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Polk County just a moment ago, News Channel 8's Georgia MacArthur, she is in Lakeland. She has been weathering the storm quite literally outside. So, Georgia, we went and found out for you. There were gusts of about 76 miles an hour out where you are today. And you could still see some of those strong gusts at this time.
Yeah, that is correct. I just want to mention right after our last live shot, Jen, I actually lost one of my hats. So thank God I had a backup here. But I just want to show you that the left side of the street here has completely lost power. Where we are here in downtown Lakeland on the right side near the Bureau, we actually have power, but the wind gust starting to pick up. I want to show you across the street here, this awnings that is just completely wrapped around the pole here, as well as some down trees, excuse me, and a stop sign that seems to be on the ground. We are seeing quite a few emergency electrical calls, 911 calls come in. We are told there are a number of power lines down throughout the county. Polk County Sheriff's Office also gave us an update. There are a number of intersections and flooded roads out here. So rain has started to let up. The wind gusts is starting to let up, but you know, you can still see, I mean, I heard Ty earlier in Hillsborough County say that he's starting to feel that cold front. It does starting to feel like fall out here right now. So we're going to continue to monitor these conditions. I also want to let you guys know, I think we have that SADA. We spoke to a resident earlier who was evacuating, he says, from his mobile home park.
We know it's going to weaken inland, but we were kind of concerned. We're in a mobile home too, so we just didn't want to be kind of blown over.
And family of 6 are all here?
Yes, ma'am. So we're all here safe and sound right now.
And again, safe and sound. Like many people here throughout Polk County, we've seen only a few people that have taken on the roads here. We want to remind people that although, you know, we are getting a little bit late in the hours, that the conditions are still deteriorating on parts of the road. So we're going to continue to monitor those conditions and send it back to you guys, Keith and Jen in the studio.
Yeah, those wind gusts are no joke, and hang on to your hat. No pun intended, but I mean, you know, once that hat takes off in a wind like this, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Just say goodbye.
Glad you had a spare. Thank
you, Georgia.
Well, these effects from this storm, whether it be the wind or the gust and the rain or the flash floods or the surge, I don't think anyone got out unscathed, and that includes Manatee County, of course.
It does. It's just one of the many counties that is dealing with some suffering tonight. Let's check in with News Channel 8's Brittany Muller, who is there with the latest on the conditions.
I'm Brittany Muller in Manatee County. We've been without power for hours now, and we're not alone. We know 180,000 people are currently without power in Manatee County. That's according to FP&L. Cell service is also spotty at this hour. We've seen at least 3 transformers blow right through this window. It's completely pitch black, but we saw the sky light up green. That wind is continuously howling. You could hear it even through this window. We also know that we won't see the extent of the damage until that sun rises tomorrow morning. We'll have crews in place. We also know the county is prepared to step in and assist those in need. Urban search and rescue crews are here in Manatee County, ready to go once those winds die down. So we'll be here bringing you the very latest. For now, reporting in Manatee County, Brittany Muller, 8 on your side.
You want to go back to J.B. Buono upstairs?
I think I would like to. You know, he's always got some good stuff.
He does. I think you're one of the first to show us the Tropicana Field, you know, canopy peeling back. And you just have great viewers, and people are watching you stream across the country really right now. So bring us up to date on what you have, J.B.
Keith, you know, and they're sending in such incredible video on WFLA.com/report it. And I got to be honest, this next one I'm going to show you, I'm not sure what we're looking at, but it looks post-apocalyptic. I mean, and that's what's clear to me. This is sent in from Robbie, and he shoots this video off into the distance, and it looks like these flashes of blue and orange. Now, in his comment, he says this is from Lake Josephine, Sebring, Highlands County in the overnight hours, and wonders, he puts in the comment, an explosion of some kind. We can bring up the audio here. You can hear a little bit that the winds are whipping out there as of, the overnight hours, but I'm not sure what we're looking at, but something that we're going to monitor as far as Highlands County. I know that we don't have a crew there stationed right now. Any notes, Justin, before we move on to some of the questions coming in?
Judging by what I can see with that, more than likely those are transformers that are blowing, and they do light up these very strange colors. Initially, you may think it's lightning, but due to the shade that we're looking at there, when you get a power flash, the transformer actually blows, it can create that. And with the visibility reduced, with rain in the air, high moisture content, it creates that glow, especially if it is at a distance.
Yeah, what's just so wild about it is the size of that glow.
Yes.
We're used to transformers, and we've had a ton of them on Report It, and they're usually smaller. That one, it looks like it's illuminating the entire horizon there. Yeah. Let's get to some of the questions that are coming in. People want to know where the eye is right now, so we're going to look at this on radar. Nate says, I have family in Orlando. What is their severe weather looking like, and the time frame? So this is now becoming less of a Tampa Bay event, thankfully for us, but more of an Orlando event. And let's tell it like it is. Orlando's getting hit with a hurricane right now.
They are. And like I mentioned earlier, they're maintaining the hurricane warning for Orange County there in Orlando. And as we look at the Max Defender 8 radar, we can see that the eye wall is, in fact, moving through the Orlando metro area. That is Orange County up into Seminole County along the I-4 corridor. So places like Orlando and also Winter Park and up into Sanford dealing with some of the strongest portion of this storm right now. And it's going to continue to work its way to the east. So Daytona Beach, down towards New Smyrna Beach, Titusville, which is the Space Coast. You can see the forecast line from the National Hurricane Center moving in offshore from the Space Coast here overnight and as we head towards tomorrow morning. Now, as we look at the radar back across the Tampa Bay area, you can see that back edge. This is what we're waiting on, this last really gasp of moderate to heavy rain moving through, and with that, we'll still see some wind gusts, but then thereafter, and the model data suggests right around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, most of this should be east of Polk County, and this will become more of a Central Florida and East Coast event, which will be a big event for them as the hurricane warnings are up off to our east. But to answer that question, Orlando dealing with some of the worst of it currently there in Orange County.
All right, let's go next to Shannon Cole. Hey, Justin, I'm in Winter Haven. How will it continue to affect my area?
So Winter Haven, basically in the eye of the storm, and it's becoming a lot more ragged. It's open on the south side, and this is all working out according to plan. It is overland. The weakening process is keeping up here, and we'll watch this go from a Category 2 down to a Category 1 as we head towards daybreak here on the East Coast. But again, Polk County may be dealing with a lull right now if you're caught underneath that eye feature, but the backside of the hurricane, even in Polk County, will come through. So the winds will begin to pick up once again in Polk County as the storm continues to travel off to the east, affecting Central Florida. So we've got a ways to go for our inland communities and the Atlantic side of the state.
All right. Here with Justin Mosley, JB here with you. Let's continue to take some questions on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. We've got Lou joining us, and this is a scenario that we are seeing time and time again in our comment section, saying lost contact with my mom. It's been 2 hours. Lou is looking for an update on Lehigh Acres. That's down in Lee County.
Yeah, Southwest Florida. Again, because the circulation is so large at this point, began life as a very tight circulation, a smaller storm, which enabled it to really kind of ramp up in intensity. We know smaller storms can intensify quickly. They can also de-intensify quickly, but because of the land interaction and because the storm is expanding, the wind field is expanding, and down in Southwest Florida, they dealt with tropical storm and hurricane force wind gusts around the Lehigh Acres area. Again, it just goes to show how broad broad this storm is really becoming with each passing hour, because it's becoming more extratropical in nature now that it is over land, but certainly a big circulation with the storm.
So Jessica Ray wants to know, as far as the back end of the storm, which basically paves the way for that cooling trend that some of our reporters have noted out in the field. How bad will the wind be? And when is Milton out of Tampa? When is it out of our region?
Yeah, it looks like it'll be closer to 5 o'clock in the morning, east of the entire viewing area, so east of Polk County. And looking at the report, we saw our own Georgia MacArthur out there, and she said it was kind of chilly. Well, I was like, well, what is the temperature? Let me check this out.
Yeah.
69 degrees in Lakeland at the airport with a dew point of 69. So when those two numbers match, you have saturation, rain, and or fog. And then in this case, it is heavy rain in Polk County. But yeah, the winds are whipping, and those temperatures in the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees adds a little bit of a chill in the air. We heard the same thing from our own Ty Russell at the base of our building here at WFLA.
Yeah, I heard Keith say, Rebecca Barry, I hope you brought your jacket, because it is going to be a significant cool down, no doubt.
Doesn't take very much for Rebecca to get chilly.
Right. That's exactly the point. So any other comments that we have coming in literally at this moment? We just have, a lot of folks that are just expressing that they do not have power. We ran a poll on the WFLA YouTube page asking people if they have or do not have power. And of the people in the area, about 19%, as of my last check, no, actually now down to 15%, which is good. It was 19, now 15% that do not have power in the area that are at least in our comment section, but we do know that the number has surpassed, I believe, 2 million outages, which is massively significant. And another number that we are paying attention to here, a number that I think coming off of Helene is really significant. Look, we've got people in the comment section asking if there's been any fatalities reported yet. I checked with our staff and to look beyond the Tampa Bay area. We had tornado warnings to our south, of course. We have had extensive damage throughout the viewing area here in our section of the state. As of right now, on WFLA.com, we have not heard of any fatalities just yet, but we go back to Helene. That was a storm that caused more than 230 fatalities across about roughly half a dozen or so states. There is the expectation with a storm of this magnitude that there will be loss of life. We hope it is minimal, and we're praying for everybody out there, Justin. But First Light is going to provide a lot of clarity as to how much damage has been caused across the area.
We'll shed a lot of light for sure. So we'll be monitoring it overnight as the storm marches off to the east, towards the East Coast. But again, it's not over. We're still dealing with the back half of the storm. Some of the heaviest rain there in Pinellas County will be working its way back into Hillsborough, and it's in those bands where we can still pick up those extremely gusty winds that we'll keep an eye on Max Defender 8 radar.
Justin Mosley, I'm JB. We'll send it back to the studio. As a reminder, one more time, if you lose power and you have, a cell phone with battery, a tablet perhaps that has access to cellular, whatever it may be, if you can get a signal from the internet, we are here in the palm of your hand on the WFLA app, WFLA.com, and our Facebook and YouTube pages. Keith, we'll send it back over to you.
All right. Thank you. Jen here with me as well. I guess we have radio still available as well, too.
We
so
do.
You can find us
Simulcasting on all the iHeartRadio stations. They're our partner through this. 970 WFLA is giving us a little piggyback as well. So there are ways that folks can listen in and get these updates in real time.
Just so you don't feel like you're alone, because in a situation like this, you just feel like, is there anybody there? We're still here with you. We want to go back to Pasco County with Eileen Natchik and Eric Stone, though, and check on how things are going in Wesley Chapel.
Yeah, hey, thanks so much, you guys. We're here in the rain. Obviously, it has let up just a little bit. Sustained winds at, what, 20, 25 miles per hour?
20, 25 miles an hour. We're still getting a tropical storm forward gust to about 40 or so, but we definitely noticed the rain has backed off here. In fact, just a few minutes ago, I took a jaunt up to the roof. You want to see what it looks like? Well, take a look at what I saw. Hey, I'm on the rooftop of our hotel here in Wesley Chapel. The power is out. We have a generator. It is windy up here. We are seeing wind gusts over 60 to 70 miles per hour. Wow, there's actually a car on the road Maybe that's an emergency vehicle. People should not be on the roadways, but you can see most of this town is pretty much without